Chapter 61, The Infallible Defender. At the extreme north, in the land of frost, there is a country of snow, mist country. It has rich mines and specializes in producing magic crystals. The country is wealthy and the businesses were prosperous. They had a strong military force that allowed them to withstand the invasion of the beastmen and elf in the east and the demon abyss in the west for almost 1,000 years. Its royalty has a rich tradition and the princes of every generation serves as generals. However, nearing the demise of the country, there is the birth of a twin prince, an ominous foreboding. Afterwards, foreign tribes invaded them and calamity beset them, causing the fall of the country. These papers are all bullshit. Every time I see the description of Mist Country on that book on history commonly used in the continent, I feel nauseated. What kind of history is this? It is obviously the victors singing praises of their own war effort. What calamity were they talking about? It was obviously the doings of human. Allow me to recall the truth of the history that I compiled. AD 1518. 378 years ago, when the beastmen and demons invaded simultaneously to steal from the prosperous human world, the Mist Country started a full-out campaign against them. Going by tradition, the east battle line is led by Prince Roland while the west battle line is led by Prince Carwins. At that time, both princes were only 12 years old. 4 years earlier, when the tyrant, Carni, took over the throne of Saint Fortria, a neighboring country of Mist Country, his tyrannical rule caused his people to live in fear. In order to divert away the problems within the country, he pointed his sword towards the rich and powerful Mist Country and often caused trouble at the borders. At this moment, looking at how the Mist Country is short on manpower, Carni colluded with 2 other countries which had long set their eyes on them and invaded the Mist Country's only safe zone, its south border, putting Mist Country in a dangerous position. Due to the urgent circumstances, Prince Roland, who is a holy knight, went back to the headquarters of the Holy Church and on the joint conference of large countries, he accused those invaders of invading his country without any consideration of basic morals and requested for them to withdraw their enemy. However, the prepared Saint Fortria instead accused him of being a heretic and colluded with demons. Cardinal Bandatsuma, who has been bribed by Saint Fortria long ago, adjudicated that Roland was guilty of heresy and he was arrested to await public punishment. Also, Saint Fortria secretly promised to split the right to develop the magic crystal mines to other country in exchange of keeping out of this matter. If it wasn't for that they went too far and word got out that the holy knights and priests at the bottom of the hierarchy started a violent protest, I might have been sentenced to death on the spot. On the same year, Carwins invaded the Holy Church headquarters and killed countless guards to rescue the locked-up Roland. Fresh red blood stained the stairs of Bane Great Church and even the illegitimate son of the Pope then was included in the list of deceased. When news spread out, the event shocked the entire world and the church lost its dignity. This incident came to be known as the bloodshed of Bane. The Holy Knights and Priests faction, which was full of experts, simply watched quietly at the incident. 2 years later, Pope St. Paul IX took the blame and steps down while Bandatsuma was exiled. But, before the Pope stepped down, with the bloodshed of Bane as a trigger, the Mist Country and its royalty was stripped of their books on the teachings of the Holy Church and their entire country was adjudicated as a country of heretics. But, what was ironic is that the country's east battle line has been broken through by the Beastmen Alliance army while the west battle line is in a savage fight with the demons. This claim of us being heretic, it is really too hard to tell how are we heretics. AD 1519 spring, 377 years ago, the current Pope St. Paul launched a holy war against the heretics. The countries who were extremely attracted to the profits from the magic crystal mines, the special product of the country and the slave trade actually quickly responded to the invitation to this ridiculous holy war. At the same, the holy knights and priests, under the suppression of the upper echelons of the church, could only helplessly remain silent. On the same year, all of the battle lines of the Mist Country were broken through. Under the summons of the royalty, all of the surviving citizens escaped into the only remaining city, the capital Defender. All of the scattered army retreated back to protect the capital. AD 1520, 376 years ago, after being trapped in the capital for 15 months, All of the rations and supplies were running out. It wasn't long before the Human Kingdom Mist Country's final capital Defender was broken through by the Human Alliance army. Prince Roland led all of the remaining guards to fight to their death while Prince Carwins has disappeared completely. That year, both of the princes were 14 years old. The Human Alliance army, who had suffered great casualties, slaughtered the entire city to vent their resentment. However, the long period of war and the hatred of the civilians and soldiers at the brink of their death caused Defender to accumulate so much that it went beyond being a cursed land, converting directly into a land of death. The knights who died to protect their countries and the civilians who were reluctant to die just like that, they all turned into the servants of death and started their vengeance against the living beings. The Alliance army got caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. In the end, the missing Carwins appears once again. This time, he really colluded with the demon army and started his revenge against the world of humans and the Holy Church. All in all, the war lasted for 16 years. Numerous human kingdoms were destroyed because of the war and the entire human society was plunged into hell. In the end, the demon army was destroyed and Carwins was banished back to hell by the Holy Church. The Holy Church also ended up conducting a massive reorganization in its internal structure. After that, under the Yang'ai calamity more than 100 years ago, the different kingdoms who invaded the Mist Country was completely crushed. Many tribes that were blessed with longevity suspected that Lord Yang'ai is the Prince Roland back then. After all, Mist's war flag was too eye-catching. However, the Holy Church denied the claim with all its might and the matter closed like this. Afterwards, the Mist Country is deemed as the dark history of the entire human society. In the case which it must be mentioned, a simple and twisted introduction is left on the history book. However, nearing the demise of the country, there is the birth of a twin prince, an ominous foreboding. Afterwards, foreign tribes invaded them and calamity beset them, causing the fall of the country. Prince Carwins colluded with the demons and brought them into the country, causing the destruction of Mist Country and 17 other nearby countries. Destruction? The skeleton horse beneath me charges ahead. Looking at Mist's war flags dancing in the air and the demon army that are at the horizon, I feel like I returned back to the war back then. Thus, I lift my broken Roland sword. It is the symbol of the royalty of Mist Country. As long as I, Roland, lives, the Mist Country will never fall. Mist Country will never fall. Isn't the one carrying the war flags and charging ahead the great skeleton General Vade? As a royal knight of the Mist Country and the top sword saint of the Red Hunting Hounds, he has experienced countless battles in a few centuries. His body is full of wounds but there isn't a single scar on his back. The reason? As the flag bearer, not mentioning whether the flag has fallen, the flag he carries has never even tilted before. Charge, my knights! Beat up these darn demons! That is the mistress of plague Lich Kakana. She can't be blamed for that nondescript order to her troops to charge. After all, she isn't even military personnel. If it wasn't for the events that happened, she would have probably been an alchemist merchant that is selling beauty and nutrition products. A portion of the 24,602 remaining soldiers are the soldiers who died for the country while the rest of them are ordinary civilians who gradually became soldiers. They come from many different places and their composition are messy. However, this bunch of unreliable colleagues have become the home for my soul. My people are at my back, my knights are beside me and this is where my kingdom is. Then, what do you mean by destroyed? What do you mean by demise? It is all a joke. Return to us, our kingdom, our capital. Soul World, the infallible Defender? Snowflakes starts to fall slowly from the sky as a gust of strong wind whips up the snow on the ground. Time seems to have rewind to the winter that year. My soul fire burns intensely. After paying a price, the first soul imprint to be awakened is the already damaged ice shredder. The snow extends for tens of thousands of miles and in the great snowstorm, it is to look at the distant. The mountains and surface has been covered with snow. Thousands of miles sealed with ice and the frosty north wind. This is the North Winter that we were familiar with. The demon army which comprise mainly fire elemental demons shiver in this unexpected snowstorm that suddenly beset them. This world gives them a feeling even more dangerous than the forbidden spell from before. That is the frost from the natural world. It is something that mercilessly steals away all life and eliminates them. At the moment when the demons shiver, my undead army laughed manically. Undead never fear the cold, Needless to say, these fellows who grew up in the snow country, fighting in the snow, their fighting prowess would be increased significantly. Yes, the soul world that I was proud of is only a purely support-based world. It is meaningless without my army. However, as long as my army and I exist, without doubt, it is the strongest one in the world. Furthermore, this land of snow is just the start. I am the Lord of Undead, the Prince of Mist Country, the final head knight of the Order. I swear to protect my people and my land. I swear to never surrender to any invaders. I swear to change fate. I swear to bring equality to all life. That is the solemn promise of the prince of an ancient destroyed country. Then comes the vows of the knights. Your Highness, I am your kindest knight. I vow to treat the weak with kindness and help anyone who requests of me. Slants, the kindest knight. He escorted the refugees 4,000 miles to Defender. In the entire group, the only one who died of hunger during the journey is him, who split the food in the group. Your Highness, I am your strongest knight. I vow to stand bravely against violence, not regretting my actions even if I die 100 times. Kamisia, my prided Titan warrior, the fearless vanguard. Even when he was decapitated, he never stopped his charge. Your Highness, I am your most righteous knight. I vow to correct every mistake, no matter where it comes from. Fendirk, my holy knight brother who went to denounce the injustice in the joint conference of countries. I was saved by Carwins, but he was hanged on the squares of the Holy Light Church. Even to his death, he insists on the justice in his heart and he refused to cave into anyone, regardless whether it is to the churches of the world or the holy light he holds faith in. Your Highness, I am your most useless knight. I vow to fight for those without weapons, but I can only serve as a wall with my body. Carlos, who dares to say that you are useless? To save those escaping refugees, despite being exhausted, you used your body of flesh to shield the civilians and guarded the rock bridge by yourself without retreating. In the end, you died from getting pierced by hundreds of arrows. Your Highness, I am your most brotherly knight. I vow to help my knight brothers to protect their families by using this body of flesh. Lucas, you have succeeded in your aims. The families of everyone survived, but what that makes everyone's heart ache is that you failed to protect the 15-year-old you. Your Highness, I am your most loyal knight. I swear to follow you to the ends of time. Bastian, my son of wrath. From a pet dog, you advanced slowly to become the captain of the Red Hunting Hounds. Someone said that you relied on the strong physical body that I granted you to climb to that position. Someone insulted you and said that you are a brainless pug who only knows loyalty. But, you faced their insults and sarcasm with a smiling face and treated the dog-like loyalty as the greatest honor. Your claws and anger are always directed towards the enemies. Origin of Order, if this kind of knights aren't qualified to become heroic spirits, then your eyes must be blind. If this kind of knights can't be called heroes, then those heroes in myths are simply those who deceive the world for their fame. Return and fight for me, my knights. The soul imprints that represents my life start to awaken once again under the injection of my power of soul. The damaged crown of undead and son of light starts to light up again. The power of order and power of chaos come into conflict and gradually, they merge together, forming a light of rule that changes everything. Under the chance of my knights and I, a light radiates and the entire world has been replaced. My soul world replacing the real world. It is an endless snowfield under the starry skies. Smoke and war cry surrounds us. This is the scenery of a battlefield. In the faraway distant in our vision, the city named Defender is still burning fervently. That is the home that we have always anticipated, but can never reach. This is Soul World? The infallible Defender? Under its effects, we have returned back to 376 years ago. On the day when a snowstorm rises in the night, at that moment, Defender has yet to fall and my knights and I were still struggling. The descent of my soul world means that reality is being rewritten. My knights are no longer in the form of the ugly-looking skeletons and corpses. The flag of a tornado flies up high. But below the flag were lively faces. Their healthy and fit body were equipped with superior equipment with an insignia of a tornado on it. They are no longer normal undead. They are the incarnation of the wills of heroes after their deaths. They have been granted an immortal soul body by the origin of order, and there is even a nice name to go along with it, heroic spirit. There is a boundary between heroic spirits and undead. In my soul world, The knights that were loyal to me are the only heroes worthy of the title of heroic spirits. Right now, they are overstepping the limitations of the incomplete body of the undead with the centuries of strength and experience they have accumulated. With a perfect physical body that is suited for them to exert their strength, their fighting prowess would be increased by at least threefolds. Looking at the sudden change, the fearless demon army starts to tremble and back away. Going by logic, every heroic spirit is at least a legend rank existence. They have no chance at victory. Demon count? Far from being enough. Bring a demon prince or a great duke here. The heroic spirit knights has already started sweeping away the demon army. The frenzied laughter of Camisia, Bastian and the others echo on the battlefield. The flag-bearing great sword Saint Deface dances in the midst of demons. His 18 sharp swords float around his body and slaughters the enemies. Despite being just a single person, he seemed to be like a sword formation. The body of the heroic spirit granted him the ability to use his will to control his swords, allowing him to better display his skills as compared to when he is still an undead. In this moment, the three-headed hellhound Wrath has shown their powers. Standing together, Abau and Dabas combines together in a spatial distortion and their true body appears. The three-headed hellhound starts to chant the choral of hell and the gate leading to the death dimension opens. This is Wrath who represents the Grim Reaper. Leading the charge, I am already deep within the demon army. The gigantic demon Cockagil stands in front of me. However, I smile happily and swings the Roland sword which somehow became complete again. I swing the reins and the gigantic black warhorse Yonga increases its speed with a loud howl, leaving after images in the battlefield. In this world, I am still that holy knight Prince Roland and not the Lich Roland who only has an incomplete and damaged body remaining. I am the head knight of the order. At this moment, Adam, who was already fighting with Cockagil, looking at me reinforcing him, he stuns for a moment before smiling. As expected, it is Big Brother Rolo. Why? Have you finally thought it through and decided to come meet me for the last time? Yes, I have regained my look of the past, albeit the age not being correct. However, the face shape should be very similar to the Big Brother Rolo in his memories, confirming the guesses that he was confident of. Sigh, I intended to send you off with my face after I fully revive. Let's cut the crap for now. Someone is waiting for us. So, do you need help? Of course, don't duel if you can lynch. Isn't that what you often said? Old enemies? Old friends? Old brothers? I haven't been able to say for sure for a long time now. We smiled mutually at each other. The crimson-red godword and the silver longsword crossed by each other and midair and sparks were produced from the friction. In the next instant, we slashed at the demon count at the same time. The severance of the river of time. Holy light, that is an enemy worth fighting. PS1 Roland has been upped a tier because he used the god equipment origin of Codex. In order not to affect the reading, I didn't mention it in the main text. Also, the reason why his soul imprints and Roland's sword became complete again is because he burned his soul. That is a kind of suicide, but there's a reason for that. PS2 Now that I'm on a critical period, to ensure the quality, I will write slowly Chapter 62, Demon Slaying. The conclusion has been decided the moment the infallible Defender descended. In the face of the Mist's war flag drifting in the sky and the loyal knights who have survived the trial of time, when the horde to advance is blown, the vast demon army isn't worth mentioning in front of me. I have always believed that in the face of this drifting Mist's war flag, no matter which demon or devils from the lower realm or angels and heroic spirits from the upper realm, they aren't able to withstand the charge of my army. We will be invincible. Camisia, who is opening up the road of me, is currently back in the pinnacle of his strength and incredible missiles are hidden underneath his gigantic armor. The nightmare horse he is riding on is rushing forward with all its strength, leaving fiery footprints in its trail, while 2 4-meter-long dragon lance serves as his spear. How many years has it been? As my strongest warrior, he still stands at the forefront of the army. Regardless of whether it is a Hezru with boundless strength or the gigantic Bebilith, in the face of Camisia who is blessed with God's strength, they fall down like little chicks with just a little bump by their sides. Even the extremely heavy adamantine dragon lance which normal people are unable to lift, he can use both of them simultaneously easily. On other days, this extremely powerful expert who can't be stopped when he begins his charge has a fatal flaw. That is, due to his heavy weight, it is easy for his mount to tire. However, when his undead mount has also stepped into the realm of heroic spirits, his fearless charge no longer holds any possibility of being stopped. On his right, the young man Carlos, who is dubbed as the most useless knight, carries his shield up high, blocking arrows and magic spells for him. At this moment, he is the grindstone which ensures that the sharpness of the flying arrow. The mobile fortress is the prided nickname of that young knight. In terms of skills as a defender, Carlos still remains the top among the royal knights. Even when this noble heroic spirit is stuffed into the body of an abhorrent abomination undead, this tall and strong young man still solemnly blocks the attack for him comrade, using his body as a shield. He might not be skilled in offensive martial arts or magic, but if there is someone who looks at him in despise because he isn't suited to offense and calls him useless, then he can prepare a coffin now. That's because the comrades that Carlos saves will step out and use their life to protect the honor of this young knight without any hesitation. But, looking at how this beige-haired young man easily wards off the arrows and magic, it seems that his ability with the shield is much stronger than the past. On the left of Camisia is old Sirfid. He is the swordsmanship tutor for both me and Carwins and the strongest swordsman of the Royal Knight. Even more so, he is the father of the great sword Saint Fate and the one who guided him on his path. Yes, both of their name has the same Hani Upnian. The old general's hair has long turned completely white. Facing the demon army, he didn't even use the swordsmanship that he is most proficient in. Instead, he lifts up his silver bow and shoots. Squinting his eyes, he pulls the bowstring and shoots 6 arrows at once. None of demon captains that he sets his eyes upon has yet to live. Regardless of strength or prestige, he is the knight that is most qualified to respond to my call. However, respected Sirfid, are you still blaming yourself for not being able to complete your mission? Please don't. It really isn't your fault. No one would have expected that the undefeated knight would run out of time and die of old age while carrying out the mission. Perhaps, it is my fault. If I had seen through the meaning of the 3 cups of heavy liquor you had before heading out and your forced smile while holding on tightly to the remnants of your lifespan, I wouldn't have allowed the retired you to head to the battlefield and carry out a mission that is destined to end in failure. At this moment, the old general seems to have venting his will to fight. As a lightly armored cavalry, he often charges too far ahead accidentally. But, if the demons think that they could make use of this opportunity to get rid of him, this old sword saint will use his sharp sword to prove them wrong. The female holy knight riding behind Camisia, Lani, the older sister of Fandirk, is spreading the radiance of the holy light around the battlefield. The sacred glow of light heals her comrades while purifying and destroying the demons. The warhammer-carrying human siege Lucas, the one whose spears are as swift as the wind, slants, the great sword Saint Fade, the mistress of plague Kakana who is throwing alchemy reagents around, and last but not least, the dragon knight Tamir. In the midst of the arousing drum beats, countless legend knights gather under the Mist's war flag. These heroes who have underwent countless battles seem to view the battlefield as another celebratory banquet as laughed heartily while charging fearlessly. Mist's war flag? The spirit of Mist. What is that? When I was young, I viewed myself as the protagonist of the world, so there is no way the spirit of the knight of these natives would resonate with me. Towards the me who spoke arrogant words, my father, the king, only patted my shoulders and said, "You are a descendant of the mist. You will understand." When I was 12 years old and urgently summoned back from the headquarters of the Holy Church to lead the army, I thought that I would just be a puppet general. After all, a large portion of time was spent in the Holy Church training as a holy knight. Furthermore, the Holy Church had a hostile relationship with the Mist Country, so how could the 12-year-old me then get everyone to submit to me? But, regardless of whether it is the old veteran soldiers or the young and arrogant genius knights, they all followed my commands. Even if I made some mistakes, they would secretly correct them. In the war, they continuously imparted to me what they were skilled at, all kinds of battle experience. As expected of a descendant of the Mist, every time I had outstanding results and led an army to victory, they would say so gleefully as though this was their pride as well. When I made a judgmental error due to my lack of experience, they would say, "You're still young, it is fine like that," and forgive me like how a doting grandfather would. Then, they would sacrifice their blood, sweat and even their lives to correct the mistakes that I made with any hesitation. Those who gave in their life just for me to grow up were innumerable. Towards these people, how could I not grow up quickly, as expected of a descendant of the mist? Gradually, these words that made me uncomfortable became my greatest pride. The Mist Country were often in a state of war with foreign tribes. Our country is in an isolated land far away from the prosperous center of the continent. We might have precious and rare mines, but they had to be exchanged for different kinds of food and resources. In a place where half of the year is a bone-breaking chilling period, it is obviously a bad place for humans to live in. In the course of thousands of years, the soldiers and civilians gave their all to trust the descendant of the Mist royalty to protect this barren land. The Mist royalty used equality and sacrifice to repay their trust. For generations, the prince of each generation served as generals and treated dying on the field as an honor. I finally understood what is the spirit of the Mist. It isn't some high and mighty teaching. It is like the mist of a valley, intangible but definitely existent. It is like the fortress among the raging wind on the battle flags, the final defense when pushed to a corner. You are a descendant of the mist. You will understand. Ha, indeed. Father, I finally understood. I didn't expect to understand it that quickly. In this instant, we were still in the battlefield where ice and fire intertwines all around. The Mist's war flag still flies up high. Our battle has yet to end. I am the descendant of the Mist. I am a pitiful person who couldn't even protect his own country and citizens. I admit that we are just lonely souls who miss the mortal world, that we are defeated soldiers, but we are dead but we aren't willing to die like that. We are defeated soldiers but we are unwilling to put down the past. There are still too much injustice and tragedy in this world. How can we shut our eyes and sleep peacefully? Our remains have yet to rot and our arms are still capable to lifting weapons. We want to ride on our mount and charge, launching a crusade against the ambitious who create war and chaos. The cheers of the knights are their lingering will which allowed them to become undead and the faith that allowed them to become heroic spirits. Under the Mist's war flag, I point my rolling sword towards the direction of advance and the knights use their faith and courage to repay my trust. Charge! As a loyal cannon fodder, under the commands of their master, the bloodthirsty beastmen army blocks our path. However, just like how Amandus is unable to block a carriage, they were crushed under our advance. In the chaos, isn't the one who old Surfeed beheads with one hit the beastman sovereign who never regrets? He didn't even stop us for a single second. Maybe, dying meaninglessly is a suitable punishment for an ambitious and ruthless person who steps on other people's life to fulfill his own desires like him. When the gigantic ancient Helldragon is forcefully dispatched by her master to block us, that familiar gigantic dragon already had a destined enemy waiting for her. Molly, you are really a big disgrace. Before she could even swipe down to assist, Einmesius, who suddenly descends down, tackles her, causing her to continuously roll in the air. Yes, the previous Chaos Demon Dragon from before is the Dragon Empress Molly. Due to the unexpected battle that occurred, she, who was supposed to serve as a tribute, survived. Afterwards, facing the Demon Count, she gave up her pride and chose to convert into a demon dragon, Hell Dragon. The chaos just means that she is a demon dragon sighted towards the chaos abyss. The two ancient giant dragon tears each other apart while howling furiously. Despite the fact that the Hell Dragon should be much stronger in a physical battle than the giant dragons on the surface, but the one who had advantage in all aspects was the smaller and younger Einmesius. Where did the dignity of the dragon tribe that you often said go to? Did you swallow it down? I can't stand looking at such an ugly appearance. Die! The furious Einmesius discards the final inch of kindness of hope in her heart and for the first time, attacks Molly with the intent to kill. Einmesius, the master of two elements, showcases her deep understanding of magic. There is no need for incantation or hand gestures, just the breathing of the dragon tribe, whose bloodline is full of mana, is magic itself. Just by flapping her wings and staring at Molly, wind and fire were created continuously. The wind gives a boost to her while interfering with Molly's flight. On the other hand, the fire is more flexible. Sometimes, it changes into smoke to block the Molly's vision. Other times, it explodes in front of Molly, breaking her scales. Furthermore, every single attack of Einmesius is infused with the power of elements. As the fight went on, Molly's heart chilled as she realized that she had no hopes for victory. Thus, Her fickleness acts up again, and without regards for the severe wounds she just incurred, she abandons the boss she just chose to serve under and escapes into the horizon. The rapid loss of the two original underground autarchs seems to start a domino effect, and the demon army falls back continuously under the assault of the army of heroic spirits. Not too far away, the battle between the 100-meter fall giant demon and Adam could be seen. The light of victory is within sight. As long as the demon commander who summoned the demons is killed, those low-tier demons would naturally be driven back to the abyss. Even the bloodthirsty and frenzied demons treasure their lives. In the face of the unstoppable charge, they have started to scatter. But, before we even arrive, a large silhouette couldn't hold in its anger any longer. That large black silhouette leaps up, and despite being a 60-70 meter tall gigantic beast which should have slow reactions, but it seems to be as agile as a leopard. It bypasses the few Balor demons who serves as bodyguards and crashes violently into the giant demon count. That is the captain of the Red Hunting Hounds, demonic spatial hellhound Bastian. The gigantic demon lord falls to the ground with his demon halberd supporting his body. His upper body is similar to a goat while his lower body is like an incomparably big lizard. Bastian uses his 3 heads and directly tears apart one of his limb. Ah, filthy worms! The gigantic 3-headed hellhound Bastian, in the formation of our Knight Order, the job of this captain was never a knight. Instead, it is a giant war beast and a siege machine. It normally serves as the vanguard to tear apart the enemy's formation. This huge black war beast would jump into the enemy's formation and cause a fatal chaos within. That gap would then be torn apart to become a fatal blow that couldn't be fixed. The reason why I use huge to describe his body and not fixed numbers is because his size is never fixed. The center head of Bastian is the incarnation of wrath. He doesn't have any name or rationality, but he is responsible for using his fangs and claws to rip apart the enemy. When his rage reaches a point, he will grow bigger because of his anger. For a giant war beast, a large mass means greater strength than cannot be countered. Just like how there is no limit to rage, as long as Bastian turns back into his original form on the battlefield. As the battle proceeds on, his wrath and size is limitless. We once encountered a difficult battle for 2 days and 2 nights. There was an ancient gold dragon that suppressed our army, but in the end, it was crushed to death by a single leg of Bastian. Not to mention, the number of city walls and city gates he crushed under his feet. The reason why he usually splits into 2 different bodies and keeps his main consciousness in the pitiful skeleton dog is to suppress his endless wrath. But, if he only has this much, he wouldn't be worthy of being called the head of the 4 heavenly kings, the strongest general that I trust the most. The head of the savage beast in the middle who moves instinctively only listens to the order of the other 2 heads. The left head is Abao, his subconsciousness. His soothing voice brings about the order of death. The right head is Bastian's main consciousness. Having a vantage point of the entire field, he often roars orders to command the movement of the entire army. It is said that the 3-headed hellhound is the gatekeeper of hell and for wrath. I only designed one ability for it, Soul World Gates of Hell. When the 3-headed hellhound howls together, the vague image of the gates of hell will appear behind them. When Abao opens the left door, the undead allies who just died in a distance not too far away who has his soul intact would be revived. When Bastian opens the right door, the air of death would rush out, causing all surrounding life to wither away. Of course, resurrection cannot be without a price. For every 10 taken away by the right door, only 1 can come back from the left. When both doors are open together, there will be endless destruction. In this instant, Bastian has already rushed into the midst of the demon army. In an instant, Adam, who was using his inferno wings to deal with Cockagil, became part of the audience. When Bastian and Cockagil was pitting together physically while tearing each other apart with their fangs, the doors of death has been long opened. Perhaps, as the leader of the 7 deadly sins, Bastian's individual fighting prowess may not be on par to Adang of gluttony. But, in a team battle, Bastian, who can revive, command and serves as a war machine, still serves as my strongest general. Don't duel if you can lynch. I have said that before. This is one of the basic strategies of war, gathering soldiers to get in the upper hand to destroy the enemy's isolated and weaker soldiers. At this moment, when Cockagil's arm that was holding the demon halberd in his throat was bitten firmly by Bastian, The god sword of the man in the sky strikes relentlessly on the vitals of the demon lord. The isolated demon noble who can no longer move, fate is sealed. He can only serve as the punch bag of the charging army. In the face of the absolute army formed by 24,602 heroic spirits, no matter how strong he is individually, the only possible ending for him is to get crushed. However, in the face of a critical situation, the infuriated demon activates the talent that he can only use once a day. Soul Extraction Curse. That is a powerful curse created by combining the ability of the demon lord and his semi-god equipment. Cockagill's soul burning lantern. The target of this curse would have their soul forcefully extracted, and for a soul that has left the body, there is no way it is able to withstand the attraction of the soul burning lantern. However, it chose the wrong target. The gigantic finger points towards me. The black tattoos of the curse spreads rapidly across his body in the shape of a spider's web. The next second, it went still. Indeed, if the summoner of the soul world dies, the soul world would disappear along with him. The royal knights will turn back into their original forms as undead knights, becoming significantly weaker. Thus, using his strongest talent, his curse, to kill me instantly is a correct strategic move. But, even though I look like a living being, I am still dead. Let's first not discuss how can a soul be extracted from the body of a dead person. Even the river Styx, which has the greatest ability to attract and eat into souls, cannot do anything to my soul. So what can a semi-god equipment do? Charge. Seeing the master they serve being attacked, the knights were enraged. Even without my orders, they won't stop their charge. After a large AO Holy Light buff, the silver arrows carrying with it the nemesis of the demons, Holy Light, with it turns into a rain of arrows that fills the entire skyline. The tip of the arrow is filled with the bane of demons, power of Holy Light. Just like how corrosive poison works on living beings, the areas hit by the Holy Light causes the wound to widen. The area around the impact immediately bloats up and explodes. Perhaps, it might not be really effective against the massive demon count, but it is definitely excruciating. Ah, darned worms! Enraged, he smacks away the equally big bastion. With his remaining hand, he summons a destructive forbidden spell. But my knights won't simply sit back and allow him to do as he please. As the heroic spirit mages start to show their might, innumerable magic restrictions forcefully cause the casting of the forbidden spell meteor rain to fail again and again. In the end, only a small flame in his palm remains. That is the helplessness of a great mage without cannon fodders to shield him. Facing an entire army of mages' magic restriction, the fact that he is able to summon a small flame means that his basics are very solid. After Camisia, leading the charge, cuts out a terrifying hole of flesh and blood on the tower-like gigantic legs, the other knights follow suit like carnivorous ants, inflicting severe wounds on the body of the demon count. Adam made use of this opportunity to stab the blessing of the phoenix into Cockagill's eyes, destroying an eye of his among screams of agony. When Bastion expands once again and crushes Cockagill to the ground, everyone knows that it is the end of the powerful demon count. Cockagill is strong, extremely strong. But, war isn't a duel. Even if he is strong individually, but there is a limit to what he can do alone. He rolls around on the ground in pain, using his demon halberd to shake off the little worms on his body. But, this was no different from suicide. The corrosive blood of the demon flows out continuously, and due to excessive corrosion, the land he is on starts to turn into scorched land. Very quickly, when his neck was severed, the demon Count Cockagill finally falls. His massive body gradually turns into ashes. This time, he used his true body to descend. Even if he is able to revive, he would have to start afresh from the lowest tier demon. Following the fall of the summoner, the demons disappear one by one as they are banished back to their own dimension. This time, they didn't get to claim much soul. After the depletion from the journey here and back, the losses they incurred would take centuries to gain back. Victory. When the horn symbolizing victory is blown, not only on the battlefield, even Sulphur Mountain City, which is not that far away, is hit by a wave of joy. Regardless of whether they knew each other before, the citizens hugged each other in relief, celebrating their survival in this calamity. But, this is only the start of my trouble. Clang. The crimson-red god sword and silver sacred sword clashes together violently. Despite the fact that their master was assaulted, the heroic spirits only had the intention to look at the commotion. In fact, A few of them even started accepting bets. All that is lacking is some stools and sunflower seeds to enjoy the battle. Adam's stupid face is right in front of me, and the words that he squeezes out from his gritted teeth were filled with deep resentment. Roland, no, big brother Rollo, maybe it is about time for us to settle our old scores. PS. Since someone asked and the plot is here already, so I will explain for a bit. For all 3 of his lives, he started out as a holy knight, just that he got into other fields later on. After all, going with something that he was experienced with saves him a lot of effort. The first time he died was at 14 years old. His second life would be mentioned later on in this series, and his third life is the one with his identity as an adventurer named Rollo. This old sword saint will use his sharp sword to prove them wrong. Greater than exact phrase is the spicy ginger are the old ones, which, in this context, means something like the strong ones are still the old ones. Somehow, there is 2 different chapters for chapter 62. The 2 chapters are quite similar in the story flow. The one that I am translating is the newer one, but the older one has some details which the newer one doesn't have. I probably won't translate it, so I will just put the summary here. It starts out with him saying that Roland worships the holy light, just the holy light itself and not the god. After all, other than the fanatics who have a screw loose in their head, no one would worship a system that controls the god power that doesn't have any sense of self. Even so, he is the one closest to the origin of holy light. While viewing it as a tool, he studies and analyzes it, which is the main reason how he was able to create the similar power of law. The core of holy light is purification. It is a power that mends the world, destroying everything that doesn't belong to this world and returning the distorted rules back its original state. It is what the origin of order expects of the world. Its healing abilities is just the reparation of life. It is useless towards those who are reaching the limit of their lifespan, because life, sickness and death are a natural part of life. However, to the demons who can distort rules and undead, whose existence is a distortion of rules, the reparation of the distortion is equivalent to destroying them. So, the holy light is the nemesis of demons and undead. Thus, no matter how good it sounds, holy light can never rid the world of war. The judge must be a neutral party. How can the conflict be resolved if one party wants to destroy the other? Wiping away the other party to end the war is a joke. As long as the river Styx continues to flow, demons will be created endlessly. That is the main reason why I gave up on the holy light and created the power of law. Starting out as a holy knight for 3 of my lives, I have absolute confidence in my control of holy light. Then, he buffs his sword and says that if his soul imprint Son of Light is still intact, even the Pope would have to bow to how pure his holy light was. He fights with Adam against Cockajil when joking about. Molly swoops down to help him but was driven away by Einmesius, who was using a weapon, Talon Dash. Margaret summons her star spirits to fight with the demons. Molly appears once again and throws Shu into the battle of Adam and Roland against Cockajil, exacting vengeance on the person who used her as a tribute. Shu gets destroyed by a 3-pronged attack of them 3. Molly escapes once again after being scared off by Einmesius. Using Adam as a distraction, Roland looks for a weak spot in Cockajil's armor and penetrates it, then cutting his veins etc. from within. Cockajil is in pain. He destroys his lantern and commands the spirits inside to hunt down Roland, who is wreaking havoc in his body. Roland uses holy light to purify these spirits. Cockajil falls, Adam and Roland starts fighting. This time it feels more like clashing on friendly terms. Chapter 63, Adam. Big brother, your swordsmanship is incredible. Can you teach me? I am called Adam and I am from Whitestone Village. My goal is to become a hero and marry Lisa. Afterwards, go back to the village to brag to everyone. Right, I must also become a landowner so that I can be like old Peter living next door, being able to collect rent without working, smoking weed while staring at other people working. Back then, that silly-looking youngster stood in front of me. Despite not being even a bronze rank, he spoke so arrogantly of becoming a hero. It was really a mystery where his confidence came from. Your movement is slow and your basics are weak. You don't have any special bloodline and your ability to understand is weak. If it weren't for your ability to think on the spot and make accurate decisions sometimes, you're as good as completely useless. You will not break through silver rank in your entire lifetime. Since I was free and bored, I decided to try training this untalented swordsman. But very quickly, I lost my interest in him. Just a normal person, not even qualified to serve as a cannon fodder. But, as a holy knight and a good elder brother, how could I say that? Good. You have the determination. Just follow the training schedule that I planned out for you. If you try your best to complete it, you would definitely become a great hero. Running 50 kilometers with weights of 50 kilograms. Swing your sword for 20,000 times every day. Easy, easy. Afraid that I wouldn't teach him, Adam strikes his chest confidently in response. I wasn't lying to him. That is the training for the rookies of the Royal Knights of Mist Country. Just that, I casually increased the repetitions by 10 times. Rookies take around an hour to swing their sword 1,000 times and the efficiency would become lower as they continue on. When the muscles have reached their limit, every additional swing will be a great torture to the body. Within expectations, it didn't take him long before he came running to me with sore arms, saying that he was unable to complete his training. At that moment, I would say you are really lousy. Fine, I will lower my expectations while adjusting the training based on his situation. However, I didn't expect that this dim-witted youngster, afraid that he wouldn't be able to finish his training, would sneak out at 3 in the morning and only come back at 4 in the morning the next day. Big brother, I finished it. You can check my work. The big tree by the river was cut by me. Do I still need to check? Looking at his battered body and those blisters on his hand, for the first time, I felt that this fool was a little cute. He didn't notice that I was just playing with him. Looking at how his muscles are torn, it seems that he didn't remove his weight even when he is practicing his swings. His foolishness really makes one at a loss for words. Thus, looking at the red-haired young lad who fell asleep while taking out a biscuit to eat, I decided to be more serious in my teachings. Adam, with his numb body, laid on the bed for an entire day, and when he found that he would have to remain in such a state for 3 more days, he tearfully took out the money for his food expenses for the next month to get a priest to heal him. At that point, I said, let's adjust the training plan. Run 5 kilometers twice every day to warm up your body and do 2,000 swings every day. When your basic strength is there, I will impart you true swordsmanship. When I said this, the young lad agreed. However, this time, he left home at 2 in the morning and returned at 12 at night. Hee, big brother Rolo, I finished today's training before 12. You don't have to reduce the training repetitions. I know that I am dim-witted, but as long as I am willing to work hard, I can definitely finish it. The young lad collapses after reporting to me happily. He managed to renew my understanding towards fools. Thus, on the 3rd day, I secretly followed him out. Looking at the regret the foolish lad felt waking up at 4, he hammers his own head before realizing that he is wasting time. He quickly climbs up and starts to swing his sword with all his might. Looking at the sight of the total mess of swordsmanship, the skin on the arm that splits open from the aftershock of the swing and him gritting his teeth to endure the pain, I suddenly felt that I was getting slack. It seems that my expectation of myself has lowered recently. Then, let me start from the basics too, from 30,000 swings. That night, I returned home an hour earlier than that fool. Damn. During dinner, the hands that were serving the bowl were shaking. Of course, even so, I am still much better than Adam, who was sleeping by the entrance. Fool damn, greater than foolish Adam. That night, I pulled the fool damn who was sleeping on the streets back. After pouring cold water on him to wake him up, I dumped all the basic techniques on gripping a sword and swinging it on him. The second day, I realized that other than his diligence, his instincts and understanding towards swords are actually quite good, just that no one was willing to teach this countryside lad in the past. Let me go with 40,000 swings today. I will finish it 2 hours earlier than that fool damn. When I started seriously imparting him skills, he realized that I was also practicing basic swings. He secretly added the number of swings to do, unwilling to lose to me. As for me, how could I possibly be overtaken by that fool damn? My swinging speed is much faster than him and my physical strength is much higher than his. Furthermore, I can use holy light to heal myself. As long as our training duration is equally long, I would definitely get in more swings than him. Thus, He lost every single time. If I were to continue on like this without changing, I won't be able to catch him my whole life. Very quickly, the dim-witted him came up with this conclusion. Thus, he started to research his own swordsmanship. How should he hold the sword when he stabs? How should he hold the sword when he slashes? How can he prevent wind resistance to increase the speed of his sword? I must say, once a fool devotes his effort into one goal, results would come out from his one-track mind. Training with his sword, experimenting his skills, thinking about his shortcomings, refining his sword techniques, training with his sword, experimenting his skills. The dim-witted swordsman has already found his own path. The only thing I can teach him is just other people's experiences and high-level techniques. However, since he is able to do it, there is no reason I can do it. So, my swordsmanship also improved gradually. Fine, since we are around the same, so let's pit our will. After that, we starting increasing my training goals to surpass each other. 20,000 swings every day. Just an appetizer before breakfast. While moving about, we would swing our swords to slash imaginary foes. When we are the forest, we would cut leaves. When we are at the mountains, we would cut rocks. When we are at the ocean, we would cut water. Eventually, we can't even remember how many swings we did each day. Without noticing, our sword speed also reached a speed where normal people can't see it clearly. Indeed, in the eyes of outsiders, our swordsmanship come from the same school, the monarch swordsmanship. Without any fanciful tricks, our swords are fast, accurate and lethal. In reality, that is just the result from the accumulation of the basics. If we aren't fast, accurate and lethal, then how could we finish our training plan and make it for dinner in time? What is laughable is that in the future, people would call a dumb Adam as a genius in swordsmanship. More like naturally dim-witted, I would say. Afterwards, in order to make up for his lack of bloodline and special abilities, we hunted a phoenix and stole the phoenix heart so as to help Adam obtain the inheritance of the phoenix. Now, 100 years has passed, and after going through countless battles and turmoil that can make one's heart shatter, from a lad by the countryside, he completed his hero dream and even more so, stands at the pinnacle of strength of humans. But, not long ago, he told me that he was tired and he intends to throw away everything to rest. To sleep for eternity. Just thinking about this, my rage explodes. Idiot. Coward. Just a woman can turn you into that state. What about your dreams and goals? Your sword? The sword you spent so many years to forge? Those don't matter at all? Tell me. Big hero. I can understand the weariness that comes from the soul. It often bugs me. Sometimes I wish that I could rest for eternity. But, how can I accept this kind of reality? Sacred sword Roland turns dull as the holy light fades away. However, my furious will causes the light of my soul to shine. Clang. Our swords clashed. Similarly, there isn't any flame on the crimson red god sword. Towards my questions, Adam shouts with gritted teeth. What do you know? No matter how hard I tried, Lisa only looked at you. Even when she died on my shoulders, her final words were your name. Can you understand this kind of heart-shattering emotion? Rolling backwards, I dodge Adam's vertical cut. Somehow, my eyes shot towards another direction. In that instant, Margaret's head is lowered. She refuses to look at us. At the same time, she feels uneasy and the ground is slightly damp. Apparently, she has been crying secretly. Thus, my anger heightens. Lisa, Lisa, everything Lisa. You have been nagging about it for more than 100 years. For a woman who have died for 100 years, is this worth it? Is a dead person that perfect in your eyes? What about the living? Margaret has sacrificed so much for you, what do you intend to do? My furious roar causes Adam to stun for a moment. Then, he roars back with an even louder voice. I don't know. I am stupid anyway. Aren't you all responsible for all the thinking? Come out with an idea for me. Acting dumb because you can't face her? Messing around because you were forced into a corner? The Adam who is messing around made me laugh. Thus, a century passes in an instant, nothing is constant. Companions depart, only I continue existing. The cycle of the withering and blooming of flowers repeat every year. I only pray that I die in the midst of a bed flowers, remembering the past in a semi-drunk state. At this moment, Adam was dumbfounded. Isn't this the poem of his philosophy? It can't be that. The severance of the river of time. The severance of the river of time. The blink of the light, the heartless time, The flash of a sword resembles the flowing water of a creek. A fallen leaf floats on the slow and clear water. 100 years feel like a moment that is filled with the accumulation of memories. Two exactly same swordsmanship philosophy comes into contact with each other and both people return back to reality from their illusion, staring at each other furiously, lamenting the death of a beauty, the heartlessness of time. If we are talking about things that we lost, I definitely have much more than that fool. He only lost a crush while I can't even remember loving the person. If Adam is able to comprehend the philosophical swordsmanship, there is no reason I am unable to comprehend it. Is such a simple sword skill worthy of being called profound? I am able to understand it so easily. Ha! Is that worth bragging? The feeling required for this philosophy is sadness. Being able to understand it easily? That can only mean that you are more pitiful than me. Of course, that hateful Adam. He is only sharp at times like this. You are only quick on the uptake on this kind of things. Your instincts are as hateful as usual. Then, look at this. With a Roland sacred sword in front me, this time, my eyes turn dark and all light seems to have been swallowed by the sharpness of my blade. Bitter over the early death of the young, bitter over the lonely widow, bitter over the passing of her, bitter over the destruction of homeland, bitter over the absence of friends, bitter over the sufferings of the masses. Secret sword. 7 Bitter sword. The silver longsword moves even without me swinging it. Different from the eye-catching severance of the river of time, the dark flash of the sword makes one instinctively avert their eyes, yet somewhere in between, the sword splits into 7. Just like how it is impossible to avoid agony and pain in life, it quietly shrouds around your body. This is the swordsmanship philosophy that I understood after shutting myself for half a month after seeing Adam's severance of the river of time. Since he is able to comprehend the profoundness from the experiences and life of philosophers from East, then as someone originating from the East, there's no reason why I am unable to do it. Clang. Even so, this new sort of philosophy is still completely blocked by that rapid swing of that god sword. Now, I can be sure that you are much more pitiful than me. You are really worth sympathizing. Even though he is speaking words of sympathy, but that ungrateful man smiles gleefully, as though he has won something. You fool! I must teach you a lesson today. Why I am the big brother and you can only be the little brother. He. Isn't it enough for a holy knight to just use his holy light? Using swordsmanship to challenge a pure warrior swordsman genius? Dream on. The crimson red god sword and the silver sacred sword cross blows continuously. We were attacking each other happily. All kinds of depressing philosophy come pouring out and sarcasms aimed at the opponent's weak spots shoot out endlessly. At the same time, we laughed loudly and happily. It has been long since I had such a great time. I possess the body of a heroic spirit which knows not of death and tiredness, while Adam has a true indestructible body. This battle is bound to be a long one. Not too far away, looking at the two men who have forgotten everything and were laughing happily, the calm and tranquil Margaret of usual grits her teeth tightly and anger and hatred fills her entire face. Adam and Roland, you both said that adults were selfish. From what I can see, it should be that men are selfish. Annie, remember it, next time you find a lover, you must not find one like these two bastards. Even if you fall in love, you must break up immediately. Beside her, Annie nods her head, seeming to not really understand what was told to her. She looks unworriedly at the fight between her Uncle Bones and her godfather. So Uncle Bones used to be so cute. Somehow, she remembers the promise and the message her godfather told her a while back. The young lady blushes. Margaret's warning seems to be in vain. Is that really swordsmanship? Seeing the foreign Eastern philosophical swordsmanship for the first time made fade and the rest engrossed in this duel. The profoundness of these skills requires emotions and the state of mind. Rather than saying that it is a sword technique, it has already reached the depths of rules where magic can't hope to reach. It is totally different from the mainstream sword techniques in this world which pursue strength and destructive ability. This duel is equivalent to opening an entirely new world for these sword masters. Since the battle has ended, other than the few remaining audience, the red hunting hounds and the rest has disbanded. Their goal is to head to a restaurant or some other locations. After all, it isn't the time to waste their time with their physical bodies. They must make every second count. In this instant, I was still racking my brains on how to beat down this bastard which refuses to fall. However, His face suddenly changes and fire shoots out from his back, plunging his surroundings into flames. Looks like time's up. The helpless Adam smiles bitterly. The recent battles caused his body to instinctively borrow more power from the Phoenix Heart, and it seems that he has finally reached the end of his time. His physical body, which has reached its limit, can no longer restrain the Phoenix Heart. Looking at this situation, I grit my teeth, intending to fulfill my final promise. But Adam suddenly starts to regret. No, Roland, I feel that since you even more pitiful than me, so I should do it myself so as that you won't be even more miserable. Fire shrouds the entire body of Adam. With a quick motion, he stabs his right hand into his left chest. After the splatter of blood and flesh, a fire-red object is dug out. Phoenix Heart. Yes, the so-called Phoenix Heart is not the name of some treasure or some description. It is a true beating heart of a phoenix. After losing his heart, Adam didn't die immediately. Instead, he smiles while looking at the pink heart in his hands. Back then, for this object, we spent more than 2 years tracking and hunting down the phoenix. Even after Little Red exposed her identity and used the entirety of her strength, we still ended up lying in the church for a month after the incident. Actually, I have been regretting since then for accepting the inheritance of the phoenix. I almost caused the death of the entire team. After looking at it for the final time, he casually passes the most precious Phoenix Heart to me. I still have to trouble you in the end. I am sorry, Big Brother Rolo. I have bothered you with many things in my lifetime. It looks like I won't be able to see the creation of the great world in your dreams. But, Big Brother, you are so amazing, I'm sure nothing can stop you. You will definitely succeed. After the passing of so much time, 100 years later, he still called me Big Brother just like back then, when we were adventuring. Looking at the heartless person with a big hole in his chest, looking at this little brother of mine who felt regret being unable to see the world in my dreams, what else can I say? When he can stand no longer, Adam collapses by the side of the rock wall. Looking at him, I am at a loss of words. Finally, a feeling that I never had before arises from me, make me unable to suppress my words no longer, makes the lump in my throat disappears. Foolish lad, I want to let you see it. If you all aren't here, then what meaning is there to my dream? Dumbass, treat it as the pleading of your big brother, live on. Indeed, even if peace were to really come, what meaning would it have if I ended up alone in this world? The tears of the dead drips drop by drop on Adam's face. But, he still looks at me with that silly smiling face. Big brother, we have known each other for so many years, but this is the first time I see you shedding tears. Hee hee. Should I be proud? But, I am really tired. I have done everything that I wanted to this life and I am contented. Let me rest. In a confusion, Little Red lands to the surface and the blue figure closes in. Even when she cannot see him clearly anymore, her words still come pouring out. Selfish bastard. You never consider other people's feelings. Looking at the tearful young lady, Adam opens her mouth to say something, but in the end, it turns into a weak apology. I'm sorry, Margaret. I am really sorry. If there is an afterlife, I will definitely marry you. I suddenly felt an urge to convert Adam into an undead or heroic spirit, but Adam seemed to have seen through my thoughts and mustered his strength to shake his head towards me. Bastard, your instincts are only spot on at times like this. Unable to look on at Adam's final farewell, I turned around. But, when I looked at that foreign yet familiar figure, I was stunned. In the end, I still feel like meeting Lisa. At least, give me a chance to confess. This is the final farewell from Adam, words that he was afraid to say so as to not hurt Margaret. After 100 years have passed, the figure of the young lady that he had a crush on has already become blurry in his memories. Needless to say, to love her. Maybe, Adam knows that he has driven himself up a corner, trapping himself in the memories of the past. Just that, he really finds himself unable to take that step forward. Fine. Say it. I am listening. That is a familiar voice, the voice that echoes in his dreams countless times. Adam widens his eyes in disbelief. Lisa. Yes, that is the great thief Lisa. Equipped in light leather, high-cut boots with many different tools and daggers by her waist. But, in our eyes, the traits of the demons that were covered by her illusion were obvious. She is obviously Lisa dressed up as Lisa. But, how would she know the dressing habits of Lisa? Why are you looking at me so bizarrely? Right, Big Brother Rolo, I must thank you. You pulled me out from the river Styx on time. After breaking into the realm of legends and awakening my true demon name, my memories have all returned. Could it be that a miracle has happened? Demon nobles will remember memories of the past, but it would be just like watching the life of others. However, Elisa is not a complete demon yet. At that moment, too many possibilities rushes into my mind and my brain turns into mush in a moment. Even though the one in his dreams is just in front of him, but he just couldn't say the words "I like you." Instead, his eyes were somehow attracted by Margaret, who is crying by the side. The cold beauty of the past has turned into a tearful lady. Despite being obsessed with hygiene, mud was all over her, and yet, she pays it no heed and simply sits there, weeping. Why are you looking at Big Sister Margaret? Is the target of your confession her and not me? The death of his loved one in his embrace and the greatest regret of his life. When his memories continuously beautified the dead, it became a dead knot. No human is completely emotionless. Perhaps, he has already been conquered by the cold-faced warm-hearted saint who quietly sacrificed for him for 100 years, just that he kept rejecting the possibility, using Lisa as a reason. Now that Lisa has appeared in front of him, escaping is no longer possible. He doesn't even know what kind of feelings he was harboring for Margaret in this instant. In terms of feelings, there are memories that will be continuously beautified and past grudges. The dead can never be beaten. In this instant, the conflict in his emotions for many years, the intangible dead knot, under the miracle of the resurrection of the dead, has started to undo. Alright, even if you confess to me, my answer would still be I'm sorry. You are a good person. The one I like is Big Brother Rolo. Right, fool, damn, Big Brother Rolo and I have started dating. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. Me? Just when I was stunned, Elisa's words ring by my ear. Master, do you remember the favor you owe me? Accept my confession. That is my condition. That familiar way of calling me made me confirm that the one in front of me is Elisa. Somehow, I heaved a sigh of relief. After hesitating for a short while, I nodded my head. We just started dating. I didn't have the time to tell you. Wait. If you both are dating, then I would have died ridiculously for other people's woman. Wouldn't I become a big laughingstock? Hey, you both are teasing me, right? Adam's sharp instincts, as usual, are sharp in unneeded times. By the side, Margaret, sensing the changes, is overjoyed. She immediately stops the time of Adam's physical body so that he wouldn't die on the spot. Looking at this situation, I understood in an instant. I smiled. Fine, then continue living. I have a few proposals here. For example, join my army? I don't want. It is I don't want and not I don't want to live. In that instant, we are ecstatic. From the way how Adam keeps on secretly peeking at Margaret, I somehow guessed that it wasn't the appearance of Lisa that changed his mind. Rather, Lisa's appearance made him unable to continue avoiding it, forcing him to face Margaret's feelings head on. Naturally, his thought of dying disappears. Fine, I still have dozens of proposals. Remove those which are obviously bringing me down. To become other people, dog. I don't want to fight for those hypocritical gods. DSK, then there is only one remaining. I will remove the Titan heart from Roland number 2 and together with the Titan core that I obtained from the auction, stolen it previously, the outer skin of the Titan heart, we will make you a man-made Titan heart. You have seen the 500-year-old cradle of a phoenix. Have you seen a Titan die of old age? Your physical body will rapidly become one belonging to the Titans. However, your attribute will turn from fire into lightning, and that Titan heart is still far inferior from the Phoenix heart. These will cause your strength to fall rapidly for a short period of time. Are you still willing? Okay. Do it quickly. I had enough of the empty feeling in my body. It feels awful. Somehow, seeing how this stubborn fellow is finally enlightened, we all heaved a sigh of relief together. Frenzy joy fills our heart and we smile to each other. But, the Roland sacred sword, which is gradually shortening, returning back to its original form, reminds me I don't have much time left. Fortunately, Cockagil did something good through the permanent spatial distortion. Little Red was able to retrieve the Titan heart and Titan core from Vance City swiftly. Furthermore, I did the operation personally, making it much more successful this time round. Very quickly, when everyone surrounds Adam, who has just been operated on, and Annie, I leave silently. The trouble with Adam has finally been settled, and now, it is time for me to achieve my aspirations. Returning back to the Sulphur Mountain City Court, Elisa is already waiting for me there. Holding in her hands is the origin of Codex. Alright, it is time to shock the world. The law faction, it is about time it should have a true god. Alright, I used philosophical swordsmanship to describe the technique. While I did say it is philosophical, and this is the closest word I can find, there is also the idea of profoundness. After all, you are able to evoke this philosophy in your swordsmanship, so it is supposed to be a hard technique to grasp. Also, rather than creating techniques for this philosophical swordsmanship, it's described like it somehow comes to you. Like how eating comes instinctively to you and there's one way around it. You can only understand it, you can't create it, just like how you can understand how to eat, but you can't create how to eat. Chapter 64, Ascending to Godhood. In the cold courtroom, on the huge stand where the gavel and documents are placed usually, hot dishes are laid out in its place. Just like my other companions, I made use of my limited time to enjoy the pleasures of the flesh with Elisa. Alright, don't get innuendos. I just mean eating. Can you sympathize these pitiful old bones who have been deprived of his sense of taste for more than 100 years? There aren't many dishes. Fried intestine, fruit salad, vegetable soup and butter bread. The taste can't compare to the food by the Imperial kitchen that I remember. It is obviously the rushed work of some restaurant. But, for a hungry ghost who have not eaten for 100 years, even a rock-hard barley bread would be treated as the finest culinary to him. Cough cough. Too anxious to eat, I accidentally choked. I quickly grab my neck and knocks on the table violently, signaling Elisa to come to my rescue. Acting like a child despite being so old. Hey, you're exactly like a small kid now. Isn't there anything that you want to say? Elisa pours some tea for me while patting my back. Cough. I almost got done in by the cucumber slices. If I really die because of that, everyone would probably die along with me, from laughing. The dead still can die once more? Of course, if I don't die and resurrect a few times, how can be considered a final boss? Other people might not know, but there isn't much difficulty for me to die a few dozen more times. HMPH, die faster so that you can get reincarnated earlier. Quickly pass on if you are done eating. Hey, even those on the death penalty have a final feast for them. Isn't it too early to be keeping the tableware now? Is there such a rule? Oh, looks like there really isn't one. I forgot to add it in. Remember to pass the message to Lilith so that she could bring it up during the next legislative meeting. Even if the law is heartless, enforcers must still retain their humanity. Give those on the death row some privileges, we should at least give them this much. Tell her yourself. That? I'm afraid it will be difficult. There isn't enough time. Leave a note then. Looking at this young lady with a frustrated face, I know that, by her personality, she wouldn't agree to my request. Helpless, I can only take out my pen to write a note and leave it on the judge stand. Alright, I'm done. Thanks for the hospitality. Satisfied from the alcohol and food, I nodded my head. It is just some cheap good from the bar. We didn't have sufficient time. Elisa shakes her head, regret and hesitation showing in her eyes. Yeah, if only you could have made it for me personally. You know that I can't cook. If I really make food, you have to finish it all. Indeed, Elisa, who is capable in all other aspects of housework, is lacking slightly in this aspect. Perhaps it is because of her demon bloodline, but her sense of taste is bizarre. The food she makes has extremely heavy taste, spiciness within sweetness, poison within spiciness. Alright, maybe not poison, but going by how my tongue was swollen up like a sausage, it is much worse than poison. At this moment, I heaved a sigh of relief. Lisa is a true master of housework. The culinary she makes surpasses that of normal great chefs. In the end, worried, I couldn't resist asking her, is it Elisa? Elisa, not Lisa. I only use that to scare the others. After giving a complete sigh of relief, I smiled. I think that Adam will get over it. So what? Didn't you say that a one-sided crush will only last for 36 days? A crush that lasted for more than a century is just escapism. Even if he were to face reality, accepts his own feeling and finally thinks it through, he would only play dumb. Aren't men only good at playing dumb? As Elisa speaks, She stares fixedly at me, even emphasizing the aren't men only good at playing dumb, an obvious attempt at pointing finger towards me. Haha, Adam isn't playing dumb but he is really dumb. Fine, some innocent man just got narrowed and is currently trying his best to play dumb. A certain woman continues glaring furiously. Fine, I'm sorry. In the end, unable to stand the glare filled with reproach, a certain man apologizes helplessly. What I need now isn't an apology, I can only offer you an apology. Maybe, the one escaping from reality isn't just Adam. I don't have the confidence to get past what I am about to face. Even if I know what Elisa wants is just a promise, I can't offer her one. HMPH, fortunately I didn't expect that a rock would be able to be enlightened, so I made preparations. I couldn't hear her mutterings behind her gritted teeth. Alright, now that I'm full, it is time to move on. Treating the utmost glory of ascending to a god as a cruel punishment, aren't you afraid of blasphemy? Cruel punishment? To me, becoming a god is much worse than a cruel punishment. Becoming a god? It sounds fine, but it actually isn't much. Since I am talking about becoming a god, then I have to elaborate a little about what is a god. In reality, there are many types of gods and they are vastly different from each other. At the very least, the order gods and malevolent gods of chaos are two completely different concepts. Most of the order gods obey some kind of rule or concept. Often, this concept would be their jurisdiction and their god realm. The core of their existence is the materialization of the concept of their jurisdiction. Most of them have a certain job such that the guardian god of a land and accepts faith from the people to grow stronger. However, this also limits their actions. They must work under the restrictions of the rule they made to spread their concept. One of the most famous example of this is the Mother of Earth, God of Holy Light and the Goddess of Magic. These three gods are unbelievably powerful but they have lost their sense of self, becoming a complete conceptual existence. The malevolent gods can also accept faith to grow stronger but they have much more freedom in this aspect. For one, despite Lorsai messing around in the underground world, no one has leapt out to give her a slap. This is the secret of the gods which no church will leak out. To me, this is just an image to deceive the people. The biggest difference between the two is that the order gods follow the goddess of order, Astrea, who is sleeping on the origin of order, while the malevolent gods of chaos have to offer their loyalty to the goddess of chaos, Cynthia, who is sleeping in the chaos abyss. Alright. I seem to have accidentally leaked some important news. Since I've already said this much, I might as well finish my piece. Astrea is deeply asleep on the origin of order, guiding the souls who believe in the order gods to ascend to the top of the heavenly pillar. When the souls are unable to provide any more faith, they are sent back into the cycle of reincarnation. The fragment of souls from the faith and order will become nutrients for Astrea so as to hasten her awakening. Cynthia is also the same. The only difference is that the one guiding the souls isn't the heavenly pillar but the river Styx. Also, the place that she sleeps in isn't the origin of order but the chaos abyss. This is also why the sacred veil is never ending. Even if the two goddesses are forced into a deep sleep, but they both instinctively hope to awaken. As long as the cycle of reincarnation continues for a sufficient amount of time, they will eventually awaken. Furthermore, the greater the faith towards order or the more soul is sided towards chaos, the more nutritious it is. Also, the roar of despair by the souls of the warriors who died in battle will serve as an even more nutritious tonic. So, if both goddesses instinctively hopes to revive, the source of all life, the origin of order and the chaos abyss, won't wish for the war to stop. For them to awaken, the sacred war will happen again and again. If the war continues on, there will be a day when, after obtaining sufficient tributes, Astrea and Cynthia will awaken from their sleep and the war of gods will happen in the end. The world will be reduced to its primitive form. In the history, the darned catastrophe happened. After the tributes from 6 calamities, the two goddesses of creation finally awakened and led the gods and mortals under them to battle. The conclusion was just like the first sacred war. There is no victor. The two goddesses went back to eternal sleep, the different mortal races went extinct, many gods fell and the continent was destroyed like this. Maybe, when civilization finally props up again, the cycle will continue. This is the ultimate secret that even the gods of the new generation do not know of. But to me, it is just the final piece of information written on the game walkthrough. What the heck? I know that the goddesses of creation are great, being able to create so many races. But, can you sisters limit the fight to you two and not drag others down the mud? This is my reaction when reading it for the first time. If it wasn't that I was a transcender, I would have long been burned on a stake. That's why from the very start, I kept wavering between the Chaos faction and Order faction. I don't think that either sides are good. I followed the mainstream line of thought that Chaos is evil and Order is kind. Also, despite belonging to the Order faction, I made use of the very core of the world, the origin of Order, without any respect. Fine, now that I've said so much, the question is here. Since Chaos will not come to an end as long as the river Styx continues its flow, then everyone would be done for if this war goes on. So, how can it be stopped? It might seem totally impossible, but exploiting loopholes is my expertise. After spending many years, I finally thought of an idea, but the first step involves the ascension as a god to strengthen the power of the law. The power of law is considered a lower power of the origin of order. Although I've talked about replacing the power of holy light with the power of law, the power of law is still much too weak. It is impossible to learn and practice the power of law in a place without the god equipment of law. However, the scattered pages is limited in number, so if we were to want to spread the power of law through it, it would take too much time. So, just like the holy light has the god of holy light, the law must have one as well, even if it is just a god power regulation system. This way, no matter where and when, people are able to derive actual power from believing in law. Only this way will there is a possibility for the power of law to replace holy light. But, before all this can happen, the very first core step that must be made for my plans. Then, since we have clarified what a god is and established the need for a god of law, then, how can one ascend to become a god? In reality, becoming an order god isn't difficult. Other than those fortunate ones who manage to stumble on old god power or god jurisdiction, as long as one creates a new important concept and jurisdiction and he has reached the realm of the semi-god before, this is so that he can manipulate the god power so as to not implode from the god power, he can make a declaration, ascend to godhood, spread his faith and recruit devotees. At least, this is how the god of holy light came about. He should be the very first priest of holy light. The birth of every new order god will strengthen the order faction significantly. All of those who created new concepts to ascend to godhood will be acknowledged and rewarded by the origin of order, allowing them to grow strong quickly. This is also why Kaja and the others viewed me as a future god. This future prefix should be only there because they thought that I have never reached semi-god, but I, Wumian's Roland, the previous semi-god undead emperor, has already long fulfilled the conditions for an ascension. But, a true god's ability to interfere with the mortal world is limited. If I were to ascend to godhood and become a true god controlled by the origin of order, then I wouldn't be able to stay out of the fight of the two factions. My plan would go down the drain. But, I found a loophole in the god system, and now, with all of my betting chips in, it is time to start this crazy plan. I, Wumians, the founder and user of the power of law, in Sulphur Mountain City, the land of origin of the power of law, declare to the world that I will ascend to godhood and take on the jurisdiction of law as a true god of law. The origin of order, which has been waiting for a long time, sends down a gigantic pillar of light in the thickness if the power of order makes it hard to breathe. As the declaration to ascend to godhood spreads across the world, all life stops in their footsteps and looks respectfully towards the sky. Adam, who just climbed down from the operation stand, just like the others, stare at the pillar of light of order dumbfounded, only muttering a few words. Roland, you are really playing it big this time. You intend to fool the gods? Short chapter, but the others afterward would be long t_t. Let me elaborate a bit. Some bit spoilers, but it is just background info. The gods who have been infused with too much faith become conceptual existence, which means they don't have a sense of self, unable to think, but this doesn't mean they cannot do anything. Think of Terminator, they will react when their concepts are being threatened, etc. More like a smart machine, I guess. Also, not a strong order gods are conceptual existence. For example, your last chapter in my inventory for today booms. Time for a long waiting period. Chapter 65, Sinners will be judged eventually. I, Wumians, the founder and user of the power of law, in Sulphur Mountain City, the land of origin of the power of law, declare to the world that I will ascend to godhood and take on the jurisdiction of law as a true God of law. The declaration of a true God rings beside the war of all living beings. Regardless of whether it is an adventurer who have traveled great distance, the busy merchants advertising their products, the nobles who are socializing in a ballroom, or even warring soldiers, all of them stopped in their tracks to listen to the declaration of a true God. I promise to treat all life equally. The fair power of law will shield all innocent and punish all sins. In order to carry out the rules of law with absolute fairness, I am willing to follow in the footsteps of the God of holy light to give up my sins of self to become the rules of law itself. From now onwards, I am the law and the law is me. One doesn't need to recite my name to obtain the power of law. One only needs to believe in enforcing the rules of law. To fight for devotees and land, expanding the faith and advancing the God's power, even a few hundred years wouldn't be considered a long time to achieve these. I do not have the time to waste time with other gods, and the law faction urgently needs a God power regulation system. So, I will become one myself. A true God without self-awareness wouldn't be met with enmity by other order gods. Furthermore, by becoming a pure conceptual existence, the growth would increase exponentially. As long as the faith in law spreads, the God would able to grow powerful very quickly. A brainless God power regulation system won't think of devouring other jurisdictions after growing stronger, so no matter how one looks at it, it is a great benefit to the order faction. This way, I don't have to worry about gods taking the initiative to start a war to destroy this newborn God. Of course, it is impossible for me to serve obediently as a God power regulation system. Then, is there any other way for my ascension to fail? Is there any way for my declaration to be voided? In history, there isn't any precedent. But in theory, there is one possibility: death. If a person died and his soul goes into the cycle of reincarnation, how can he ascend? That is the reason why I ignited my soul without hesitation previously, seeking for death. Of course, it is not like it is impossible for me to fail completely. Anyway, a God power regulation system doesn't really need to think, so it should be sufficient to split a fragment of my soul to it. I have prepared a Horcrux-like soul container to build the new God. In fact, there are two semi-God equipment involved in it. Semi-God equipment, dignity of the Judicature, bind? Defense: 10 points. Even metal plates only have 5 points of defense. For a cloth magic robe to reach these level of defense is already very incredible. Unique ability 1. The self-judgment of the sinner, induces guilt within sinners, and as time passes, sinners would fall deeper into a state of fear and helplessness. The greater the sin, the greater the effect of this ability. The innocents are exempted from this ability. Unique ability 2. The dispassionate judge. The user equipped with the mask would have his charm fixed at 100. Resistance against seduction, detection, illusory and similar magic plus 20. Unique ability 3. Horcrux. A technique from a foreign world allows a fragment of Wumian's soul to be embedded within. Unique ability 4. Set effect. If semi-God equipment Wumian's gaze is equipped together with this equipment, the user will be acknowledged by the rules of order as the founder of power of law Wumians himself and receive the following buffs from the origin of law. Power of law plus 30%, magic immunity plus 50%? Semi-God equipment, Wumians gaze, bind? Defense, 0 points? Unique ability 1. The gaze of truth. No illusions or lies can fool Wumians. The wearer will be able to see through all falsehood. Unique ability 2. The voice of justice. The wearer's word cannot be recorded and tested by any magic, even if the words he speaks are true. Immunity to intimidation, deceive and related verbal skills plus 20. Unique ability 3. Horcrux. A technique from a foreign world allows a fragment of Wumian's soul to be embedded within. Unique ability 4. Set effect. The origin of law. If semi-God equipment dignity of the Judicature is equipped together with this equipment, the user will be acknowledged by the rules of order as the founder of power of law Wumians himself and receive the following buffs from the origin of law. Power of law plus 30%, magic immunity plus 50%? Curse of the God equipment. Weight of the gavel. The user equipped must have a job related to the legislative system and must carry out his job impartially. If he were to twist the laws for personal reasons or speak falsely, the the lore robe would become an unquenchable fire, destroying the user's soul and physical body. Please use the authority granted prudently. The choice made after the gavel strikes down doesn't merely decide the rise and fall of an individual, but represents the dignity of the legislative system and its impartiality. The Supreme Court Woomians. This is my mask and robe that I don as Woomians and semi-god equipment recognized by the Origin of Order. What I want to make use of is their unique ability for Origin of Order. As long as the light pillar or order loses me as its target, then the equipment, which possesses a fragment of my soul, will become a qualified god power regulation system. At this moment, they are put together like a persona and under the effect of the unique ability for, they form a Woomians acknowledged by the rules of order. But, as I expected, even if the rules of order lack self-awareness, it isn't that easy to fool it. The light pillar of order which guides the ascension of true gods totally ignores that fake. At the same time, it didn't gather around me. Instead, it binds the Roland sacred sword. After all, the only thing required for godhood is the soul, and the soul of a lich is in its phylactery. As for my phylactery, it is in this sacred sword. In the endless silver light, the extinguishing soul fire due to the ignition of my stone is blazing up once again, and the broken sword is actually starting to reforge itself. This was a possibility that I have considered. The matter that I was the most worried about has happened. The power of order actually started to fix my broken phylactery. If it is in the past, I would dance in joy, and this means that I can level up and grow, but now, it is the amulet to my death. I don't want to be forced to ascend. Elisa, carry out the plan. But. There are no buts. From the start, I should have been judged. Sinners will be judged eventually. Yes, sinners will be judged eventually, regardless of their identity or the reasons. It is all because the sin exists. No matter what I do in the future, the past sins still weigh upon me. The souls that died because of me were sufficient to fill the entire river Styx. No matter how many people I save, how many good things I do, I am still a sinner. I can't even lie to my own heart, so how am I able to get the system to admit that I am a kind person? The words on the law monument at the entrance of the Supreme Court were even handwritten by me. Only impartial judgment and the punishment can wash away sins. No one is an exception. Chapter 22. Sinners will be judged eventually. This is my personal faith towards law. A person who has his hands stained in blood isn't qualified to become the god of law. Perhaps, this is the main reason why I avoided the choice of ascending to godhood personally. Perhaps, it is because of my subconscious anticipating the day when I am saved through judgment that gave the god equipment Origin of Codex the final unique ability. Effect 4. Sinners will be judged. Activate great judgment towards a single target, cleansing him of all his sins through the judgment. Requirement: the target must be willing to undergo judgment. Looking at the silver light of order growing stronger, Elisa is finally forced to raise the Codex as she grits her teeth. Sinners will be judged. Sinner Roland, are you willing to accept judgment? Looking at the blood stains on Elisa's red lips that were bitten by her silver teeth, I know that I am being too cruel. I actually forced Elisa to punish a person she likes. But the words for an apology rolls in my mouth, refusing to come out anyhow. In the end, it turns into a helpless sigh. I am guilty and accept the judgment. Another light of order bursts and my soul is brought into a court of stars. All of the part-time jurors and the ancient heroic spirit audiences are already seated. Elisa sits on the judge stand and the Codex floats in front of her. Countless memories that I remember and forgotten flashes in the court, and right now, they serve as the evidence of my guilt. In one of the images, my young army is engaged in reckless slaughter. The towns that the undead army crosses path with are reduced to rubble. The dead rises as new soldiers, and the fresh blood of the living forms a river of blood. The overwhelming resentment rises even to the heavenly pillar, enraging the gods. Sinner Roland, you are sentenced to death penalty for war crimes? When the trial begins, the user of the Codex is under the control of the absolutely fair Codex. Even if reluctance was written all over her face, Elisa reads out the verdict. Yes, death penalty. Death penalty without any doubts. If we are talking about creating tragedies and war, then Shu, who just died in the battlefield, isn't even qualified to serve as my apprentice. It is right for me to be sentenced to death because of war crimes. Yes, I plead guilty. A sudden leap in space-time in my soul and flesh is locked on a black-colored guillotine simultaneously. Then, the decapitation blade descends and caca, the head separates from the body. Ah! Even if I was prepared, but the pain and emptiness of death is still intolerable. The head that was cut off may no longer be able to make any sound, but my soul was shouting in agony. Pain, absolute pain. My life is quickly receding from me with my head missing. The instincts of a living being makes me scream uncontrollably. In the final throes of my screams, my soul and flesh start to disintegrate. This is true death. The me who doesn't believe in the true gods of order enters the cycle of reincarnation and falls into the river Styx. But, a silver light suddenly falls and in an instant, the scattered soul becomes clear once more. To think that I would be forcefully revived by the origin of order. Looking up at the slightly thinner light pillar of order, I grin my teeth. Continue the judgment. It is useful. Let's go all out against it. Under the heartless command of the man, the tears of the young lady drips down silently. In the end, it turns into a quiet weep. However, under the effect of the god equipment, it turns into a solemn and cold judgment. Sinner Roland, you are sentenced to death penalty for fraud. The image in midair shows all of my truthful lies. In the biggest screen, the video of me handing over the eternal night scepter I created to the auction with ill intent could be seen. Yes, ill intentions and fraud are heavy crimes. The death penalty is definitely a fitting punishment. In midair, I was pushed onto the gallows. Then, the steps under my feet suddenly disappear and endless blank space could be seen below my feet. The rope on my neck tightens and the pain on my throat escalates to crazy levels. The choking sensation of my soul is even harder to tolerate than the one on my flesh. I want to shout but no sound comes out. In the end, both of my legs slacken and everything went silent. Just when my soul starts to disintegrate, a silver light falls and I am revived once again. Continue. Sinner Roland, you are sentenced to death penalty for murder. This time, it is death my poison. Boundless pain gathers in my veins. The pain from my veins expanding, a stabbing pain, a frosty feeling, a burning sensation, and in the end, what is left is a corpse without any feelings. Silver light falls. Continue. It is already much thinner. Elisa's face was long tear-stricken. But, she is unable to stop now. Once the judgment begins, the court will not stop until all of the sins of the great sinners are judged. I, who have committed many crimes within these 300 years, dying 3 or 4 times are far from sufficient. Sinner Roland, you are charged with the crime of anti-sentient being crime. Anti-humanity crime? It is the solar electric chair this time. Silver light falls. Carson? Burnt on a stake. Silver light falls. Crime of poisoning? Drowned to death. Silver light falls. One crime after another is played on the judgment stand as I revive and die again and again. My soul disintegrates and reforge again and again. At this moment, I had the thought of simply dying and ending it all. Finally, after dying countless times, just as I, numb from everything, started to give up hope, the light of order that falls finally has a short delay in between. Quick, use that. The one that I was pointing to is the large blade that is leaning by the judgment stand, Dragon Saber. Elisa releases her grip on the Codex, carries that heavy blade and strikes the Roland sacred sword with it. Special ability: the unyielding saber, 100% chance of directly destroying a weapon below elite tier. 50% chance of directly destroying an elite tier weapon. 30% chance of directly destroying an epic tier weapon. 1% chance of destroying any weapon below god tier. This is the most useful ability of the god equipment Dragon Saber that came from a foreign world. Even though Roland's sacred sword is a hard to come by godly weapon, able to stand toe to toe with semi-god equipment, but it is still not a god equipment and there is a 1% chance of it being destroyed in an instant. Furthermore, once the phylactery of the Lich is shattered and it doesn't revive on time, then I will be dead for sure. That's why, my first reaction upon seeing this godly weapon is to involve it in my backup plans in case something goes wrong. Dang dang dang. This the sound of the clashing between the sword and the saber and the sound of my impending demise. However, I wish from the depths of my heart that it would come faster because the light pillar of order is starting to gather in the sky. Get away. This light of order is fatal to someone who has demon bloodline like you. However, Elisa ignores my words and increases her slashing speed. However, The silver light pillar sudden falls in the next instant without any warning. The moment the light pillar falls, I fell into despair. I don't really mind ascending, and at worst, I just have to find another idea or just become a god power regulation system. But Elisa, no. I have never felt so regretful for the decisions I made. Regretful that I will never be able to see this young lady again. Regretful that I ignored Elisa's hints, and regretful that I was unable to say some words. The rage of lightning. A rampaging lightning suddenly strikes towards the light pillar in the sky, colliding forcefully into it. But, the light pillar quickly destroyed the lightning and continued its descent. At the same moment, a figure shrouded in lightning is already standing in the face of the light pillar. Adam. Yes, despite just finishing his operation and is still in a weak state, Adam stands once again in the battlefield. He doesn't need to ask why we are struggling against the benevolent origin of order. Just the furious roar and cry of agony from his companions is enough for him to put his life on the line and come to our rescue. Lightning, respond to my summons. Countless lightning bolts gather under the order of its master. The enraged swordsman aims his sword at the heavens and slashes. This time, when the smoke finally scatters, the lightning and light of order has destroyed each other under the collision. In the next moment, as though inside it, an even larger light of order descends. If struck by it, even Adam, who possesses the Titan bloodline, will die instantly. But, glancing below, he didn't have the slightest intention to dodge the attack. Instead, he raises his sword and charges ahead. Corridor of time. Fortunately, a voice suddenly echoes, and under the entire strength of a semi-god saint, the time surrounding the light of order is forcefully slowed. You bastard! You want to die that much? Alright. Facing the interrogation and angry howl from the blue figure, Adam could only smile foolishly. Even with the combined strength of two semi-god experts, the slowed time and the lightning bolts that continuously ascends to strike, they were only able to slow down the descent of the light of order. But, this gave an opportunity to reverse the situation below. Finally, that 1% unique ability has been activated. Kaka. With a crisp sound, Roland's sacred sword shatters and the gray soul within dissipates. Great. Hearing my voice, Adam gives way, and Margaret, who is already perspiring from the struggle, immediately removes her magic, allowing the light of order to descend. This time, the shattered phylactery can no longer attract its attention. Instead, it strikes on the fake persona beside. At this moment, I took this opportunity to activate the soul fragments in the semi-god equipment to make it more reminiscent of a complete person. Afterwards, following the flow of the light of order inside, the incomplete soul is being filled, and this faker persona gradually becomes completed. Even more so, it started its evolution from a human to a true god. As for me, I am already lying peacefully on the ground, waiting for the call of death. But, in the last moment, I saw the red eyes of Elisa and that bizarre smile on her small face as she grabs a saber while walking towards me. Special ability frenzy, 1% chance of falling into a frenzied state that recognizes no kin. In this state, you will first target and kill your own kin. Alright, I've already known that with my luck, if that 1% probability of destroying the sacred sword of the special ability is able to trigger, then this 1% special ability of frenzy is bound to trigger as well. Looking at the lady who raises the giant blade to slash down, I was unable to move at all. I could only smile helplessly. Should I be glad that she treats me as her kin? No. This kind of death is too ugly. It is just like how a philandering husband is decapitated by his wife using an axe. I don't want this kind of death. But, the next instant, my eyes completely went dark. In the end, I have no idea whether I really got decapitated or Adam managed to stop her. 2 months later, in the inferno abyss of the lower realm, on the river Styx that is normally quiet, there is a soul that is creating a ruckus, very much different from all of the other lifeless souls. I love bathing, to get good skin with my shower cap on, prancing about piranhas try to escape, rinsing the top while cleaning the bottom. Never minutes since I can't remember it. Ah, boss. If you don't come soon, I wouldn't even be able to remember my own name. TL, this is the original song. The original lyrics should be mermaids try to escape. That person looks like a teenager and the song he is singing is a nursery song from a foreign word, but somehow, there is something there that doesn't fit into the song. 184,621, 184,622. Fortunately, just when he was so bored that he started counting from 1 to 200,000, a small black boat appeared on the river Styx, where boats shouldn't appear at all. The boatman is a dashing young man dressed in black. He isn't tall or short, and there isn't anything that is defining about him. The black robe seems especially fitting on him, giving the impression of a silent dark night. I was overjoyed after floating for such a long period of time. Even the soul of a transcender is about to be unable to withstand it. Hey hey, here! Hearing the shout, the small boat changes its direction, and very quickly, I was pulled up by the boatman. Boss Ayor, if you came any later, I would have really thought that you have went against your words. Yes, the young man who seems extraordinarily ordinary is the most ancient god, the High King of the first generation of humans, Death God Ayor. He, you have done such a great job, so why would I go against my words? Your avatar, the god of Law Wumians, is currently the hottest topic among the gods. In order to help shield you from all probing related magic, even I had to spend quite a bit of effort. Even so, it is worth it. The praise of Death God Ayor is rare. Even towards the absolute true gods, he rarely shows them any consideration. Then, let's carry on as we planned. Of course, I have already spread the word. Whoever who dares to touch Wumians would be waging a war against me, so you can rest easy about your avatar. Your next step should be to expand the faith of Law and increase the god power of the god of Law. Yes, that is the second part of my plan, to make Law replace Holy Light as the #1 faith of intelligent life forms. It may be difficult, but it isn't impossible, and I have my own plans in this aspect. The black-clothed dark god smiles. For the first time, he feels that letting this lad with a silver tongue go back then was a fortunate thing. Fine, but to make the god of Law into the god of judgment and even the god of Hades and build your own god system, you would have to defeat at least 4 to 5 strong gods to take their godhood and jurisdiction. This path isn't easy. Yes, the ascension of a god of Law is just the starting point. To turn all of this around, just a god of Law isn't enough. In the east of a certain foreign world, if one starts talking about judge, the first reaction of the elderly wouldn't be the dignified judges in court but the King Yama and his judges of hell in the ancient myths. There are also many legends in Egypt, Japan and many other countries about a similar system of judging one's soul after death and determining how they should be treated based on their actions when they were alive. This is the expectations of people for the kind to be rewarded and the evildoers to be punished, as well as a warning in ancient times for people not to commit evil. In the past, when a large portion of people believed in the existence of gods, it successfully played its role in warning them. Nowadays, the elderly still often tell the younger generations not to commit sins, otherwise they would go to hell. While there are true gods in this world, but there isn't any gods of the underworld. The only god that is related is the death god Ayor, but he is only in charge of managing the system of reincarnation. For the eternal war to stop, we must stop the reincarnation system which keeps pumping new blood into both parties so as to stop the awakening of the two goddesses. To reject the reincarnation system is meaningless. If one feels that the reincarnation system is wrong, then he must propose a new system to replace the reincarnation system. Thus, I thought of Hades and Hell. If a soul doesn't rise to the heavenly pillar or fall into the river Styx depending on his faith when he is alive, and rather, a neutral god system is allowed to judge them so that those innocents can continue on in their path of reincarnation while sinners would have to serve their sentence, this could perhaps be a warning and restriction to the living. This world would become a much better place. More importantly, the two goddesses who lost their source of tributes would never be able to awaken. But just thinking about it, it is an impossible mission. However, since the implausible move of allowing an avatar to rise to godhood has been accomplished, perhaps there isn't anything impossible in this world. Only the words of the powerful would be heard. This is also true for the world of gods. The first thing to do is to spread the faith of Law and allow the god of Law Wumians to grow stronger. This isn't easy. Do you intend to head to the human world yourself? I don't think that other people would be able to accomplish this mission. I will head out after reviving. The first stop is the West Mist Communal Country. After all, that is my homeland. The country built by the legendary Holy Nitral and Mist, the descendants of the Mist. Hearing that, I shook my head. I have heard of the legend, but I've never treated it as seriously. They are probably just making use of my name. I died when I was 14, so it is impossible for me to leave behind descendants. You sure? I'm unsure. The memories I lost are simply too much. However, going by my habits, the possibility of leaving behind descendants are simply too low. Perhaps, they might be descendants of Carwins. He was always popular with the girls. Why? Is the death god interested in the gossips of humans as well? No, I'm just asking for someone else. Who would be able to get you to help them to get these gossips? Your lover. Wait, when did I get a lover? How come I don't remember? 2 months ago, on the day before you ascended, do you not remember? Master, do you remember the favor you owe me? Accept my confession. That is my condition. Instantly, I remember the words that I said then. The condition then wasn't making a show in front of Adam but to accept the supposed confession. Elisa. You were aiming to strike two birds with one stone. Making a show real? Is this considered a confession? In that instant, my brain turned into mush, so how could I respond quick enough? I thought that that was to allow for a happy ending, so how would I have thought of it as a confession? It is that girl named Elisa. She is really brave. She insulted me by the side of the river Styx to incite me, so that I would fulfill my promise to fetch you. Lord, please don't hold grudges against her. Why would I hold grudges against a little girl? On the other hand, I admire her courage and determination, so I sent her a little present. However, it might spell trouble for you. A foreboding premonition floats in my head. The frenzied figure holding a saber appear in my head once again. Somehow, I felt like jumping from the boat and escape, even if this is the river Styx which represents death. Where are we going now? Of course it is to meet your little girlfriend. I have promised to bring you to her. Can I jump off the boat? Feel free, as long as you feel that you can escape from me. A soul escaping from the hands of the strongest death god? Helpless, I can only howl in misery. Misfortune. I guess it's a blessing to be sent off by your loved ones. I know I translated it as Horcrux in the past, but the more accurate term for it is phylactery, so I will stick with this. Horcrux is more of splitting a fragment of your soul, while phylactery is placing your entire soul into an object. Greater than it is actually a Chinese version of God of Hell. Because there isn't word for it in English and I've already started using river Styx anyway, I'm just going to call it Gods of Underworld. Hades, and Hades would be referring to the underworld, in case someone thinks that I'm talking of a certain god. I get that there is a sudden transition from third person to first person POV in the second part, but that's how it's written. It isn't as unnatural as it is when in Chinese than in English, so just bear with it. Alright, this is really the last one until October 20th plus BTW. I haven't been to Discord for a long time, so I'm not really sure, but thanks to the person who has been helping me add in the chapters and the table of content stuff etc. in each chapter. Chapter 66. Marquis. The small boat advances slowly on the river Styx, despite it moving so slowly that it seems stationary, but in reality, it is jumping between dimensions, shortening the distance to our destination. The water of the river Styx that is full of the silent dead flows peacefully through countless dimensions, collecting the souls of chaos. If someone isn't worried about being robbed of their souls and memories by the river Styx, they could use it as a convenient tool to transverse between dimensions. However, it is a pity that only Death God Ayer's small boat is able to travel on the river Styx. Previously, a demon duke from the 63rd level of Chaos Abyss created a soul boat out of dead souls, but the boat and the duke himself ended up erased by Ayer himself. This not only shows that Ayer restricts the right to travel on the river Styx, even more so, it proves that the death god which rarely appears isn't some good guy. Even I cherished this hard to come by experience. The priceless river Styx, the main reason is because extracting it is too difficult, is just in front of me. That is an important ingredient to countless top grade alchemy potions, and right now, I am trying to scoop some of it up. After all, if I don't take some of it back, how can I be qualified as a thrifty lich that manages his family? Very quickly, after scooping it up, I realize that my soul doesn't have any containers to fill it with. Borrow from the Watcher of the River Styx. Ayor? What is the difference from a burglar taking too much money and borrowing a sack from some police? You want to take the river Styx's water? Here. Looks like this police really don't regard the thing he is watching over as anything important. He casually throws an old and broken bottle to me, but my system evaluates the bottle as a precious treasure. Bose's drinking bottle. Ancient unique object. Able to fill 7 different kind of liquids within. This bottle has been blessed by Bose, so the water stored within will retain its original quality as long as it is kept within. Bose is an ancient sea god, but he has already long fell in the long river of time. After going through countless eons, it is to be expected that Ayor's fortunes would be massive. Even a casual object that he gives out turns out to be an ancient unique object. However, the thing that surprised me is that there are already 2 types of liquids stored within. The first generation human mountainous tribe royalties concentrated blood, Diamond class order bloodline. If this were to be submitted to the system while forging your new body, it will provide you an additional option in choosing your body. This dull red blood has witnessed the rise and fall of countless tribes. As the first generation sons of Ardor along with the ancient angels and ancient demons, this blood might not have much power left in it, but it contains limitless potential. The Devil Lord's concentrated blood, Diamond class Chaos bloodline. If this were to be submitted to the system while forging your new body, it will provide you with an additional option in choosing your body. The deprivation of the entire first generation humans created the evil race of devils that are able to stand toe to toe with the demons. There is limitless power that is hidden in this blood. However, please take note that this power cannot be obtained without a price. The fall to depravity that comes along with the devil's bloodline cannot be avoided. These are: Ayor was once the king of the ancient humans, so it is normal for him to have the bloodline of the ancient humans. However, the Devil Lord's concentrated blood is the core of a Lord level devil. It cannot be obtained even by killing them. The only way of obtaining it is to get them to submit it willingly at the risk of them losing great power, and to make a Devil Lord lower their head like that. Looks like the rumors of Ayor colluding with the devils might just as well turn out to be true. You are probably going to recreate your body. Although I have no idea what kind of method are you going to recreate your body with, you would still need ingredients, and you could probably use these. Should I be thankful that I managed to hug on the correct leg? If I had these in the past, I wouldn't be so gleeful over having silver bloodline. It is diamond bloodline, an existence that is able to suppress the golden tribe, the dragon tribe's bloodline. In front of these, even Little Red's golden bloodline that has evolved into half a diamond bloodline's ancient dragon bloodline is considered as trash. Thus, I happily accepted the bottle. Ayor shakes his head and mentions another matter. Right, didn't you talk about Hades and Hell back then? Also, the ghost guards? Do you know that there is hell in our world as well? Of course I know, but it is a totally different thing. The hell I am referring to is a jail in the underworld, used to lock up and torture the souls of the sinner. However, the Hell of Ike is the dwelling of the devils. I have talked to Little Tyas about it. If we are really able to create Hades, then he is willing to give in hell and even allow all of the devils to try to become prison wardens. Little Tyas, Kamir Tyas, the head of the current 9 Devil Lords, making the other party give in hell to serve as Hades. I can finally confirm that the rumor is false. Looks like it isn't that Ayor is colluding with devils, but the devils are serving as the subordinates of Ayor. This leisure chat and suggestions has exposed the greatest secret of this world as well as the many risks involved. This is an assistance out of goodwill, the boasting of the partner's own power, as well as an attempt at trying to sound me out. However, if the powerful devils were to be able to join in this plan, the success rate would be increased significantly. Of course, the prerequisite is that their involvement mustn't be revealed. After all, their terrible reputation will make many things become complicated. However, my greatest goal is the realization of my plan. Since this matter is helpful to the realization of my plan, there is no reason for me to reject it. But, even close brothers will count their debts. There are some words that must be clarified. Alright. However, the leader of Hades and the supreme judge must still be under the control of Woomians. Also, what does the devils intend to achieve from this? Just say it directly, otherwise it really makes one worried about what they might do. Of course, devils are well known to be cunning. Why would they do unprofitable work? Freedom. I wouldn't be surprised no matter what Ayor says. But, That word was incomprehensible to me. Freedom? Could it be that the powerful race of devils is slaving under someone? This way, won't they also be controlled by someone even if they join Hades eventually? It is not the freedom on the surface, but true release. You also know that once one becomes a high-tier devils, even if he were to be killed in other dimensions, they would just be forcefully sent back to hell with their power taking a blow. However, if they were to die in the lower realm, that would be true death. Vaguely, I guessed what Ayer is going to say. You mean the reincarnation? Yes, in order not to join the sacred war, my people sided with the Chaos Goddess. In the end, in every sacred war, devils still ended up serving as cannon fodder. Those old fellows are already sick and tired of the war and swindling they do as devils. They hope to be released, but yet, they don't want their souls to be destroyed. The reincarnation might open to any other race and tribes, but demons and devils don't have to think about it. After all, they are the main army of the sacred war. How many of them? This can't possibly be a decision supported by the entire tribe. How many of the 9 devil lords agree to it? Including little Tyaz, 4 ancient devil lords that converted from ancient humans have expressed their approval of the plan. Of course, it is not that the others don't agree, but we didn't tell them at all and we don't intend to tell them either. Looks like it is a secret agreement. However, I like it. Your reputations are really too soiled. If we get exposed, there will be endless trouble in the future, so this kind of secret agreement is the most suitable. Afterwards, it is time to discuss the terms of the contract. The Devil's contract is well known in the world. As long as you are able to get by all of the language traps, it will be the most effective promise in the world, and the contract that is personally signed by the Devil Lord cannot be changed even by the Chaos Abyss. Even if the devils express sufficient sincerity and the terms are beneficial, but since you're looking for me for a partnership, I would be a little silly to not exploit food that is sent to my doorstep. Thus, after more than 3 hours of difficult negotiation and among 8 years' praises of you are even more devilish than the devils, you are even more greedy than the demons, I finally managed to get a contract with terms I am satisfied fault with. Lord Ayor, are you tired as well? Looking at the desire for reincarnation that the devil lords expressed in the contract, I started to form a new opinion of Ayer, who is bind to the seat of the death god. No, the world is a beautiful place and the evolution of different races are interesting. There are still things that I would like to do. This seat as a death god may be slightly unbearable, but it is carefree, so I don't have much of an opinion of it. But, I am a king after all, and I must spare a thought for the wishes of my people. If you are a king as well, you should be able to understand. Nodding my head, I didn't question him further, although he aroused my curiosity of history. Ayer in front of me may seem young on the outside, but he is an immemorial monster that existed in the same era as the 2 goddesses. Perhaps, I am able to find out many true secrets from him. You should have met the goddess of Ordorastria and the goddess of Chaos, Cynthia. What kind of people are they? Why would they cause the eternal war? Ayer turns around to look at me. The calm look in his eyes somehow made all my goosebumps rise, but I was fine with it. Anyway, the man in front could easily kill anyone, even gods. Since there is nothing much to lose, it would really be a great pity to lose this opportunity to listen to ancient secrets. In the end, Ayer sighs a long breath and starts speaking. Mother Goddess, she is a good woman. She treats all living beings as her son and daughter. However, excessive maternal love could impede the progress of the children. She hopes that all of the races could live in the way she planned out, but that was impossible. Big sister Cynthia is the extreme opposite. She is lively and likes to look at duels and battles. She admires the relentless spirit of warriors and hope that her children can evolve independently. Can you believe that the ancient demons aren't actually evil? They just like all kinds of competitive sports. On this small river, time isn't a problem. Countless ancient secrets were exposed through the mouth of this old god. Despite it being an epic legend, but in through this mouth of this seemingly young old man, it sounds like the fight of the 2 unfilial and useless sons of the neighbors on the streets. Despite it being the bloody slaughter in the forceful replacing of gods, he said it in a way as though it is a primetime drama full of romance and vengeance. However, I was still absorbed in it. This might turn out to be useful. I didn't expect demons to have such a weakness. Yes, History is also an intelligence, and intelligence is often the stepping stone to victory. I would probably only have this single opportunity, so how could I not grasp onto it tightly? As the boat approaches the shore, I heave a sigh of relief before anxiety comes hitting again. After seeing me, Elisa seemed to have heaved a sigh of relief as well. This is a dark river in the underground world, but under the prompt of the death god, it became as part of the river Styx. After coming to shore, the flowing river Styx disappears along with Ayer himself. I am back. HMPH, looks like you still remembered to return. Then, I won't sell your old dwelling to pay for my wages for now. Hey, don't burn the bridge after crossing it. It is bad enough that you cut the formalities and stopped calling me as master. To think that you would sell your master's house after he is gone, is this acceptable? Do couples still need formalities? Or perhaps, you like this kind of master-servant humiliation play? TL, play is in English. What? You're too much. Now you're acting dumb. Didn't you just accept my confession? Elisa, in the midst of faking tears, remembering that darned confession, I was at a loss of what to do. That is counted as well? Back then. HMPH, that wasn't enough? No matter what, I am a girl. As a man, it is enough that you weren't the one confessing. Now you are even complaining about my confession being insufficient? Elisa roars. However, as someone familiar with her, how can I be unable to see the worry beneath her incredible aura? She was worried that I would regret that. After hesitating for a moment, I feel like I really owe her too much. Thinking about the figure who refuses to back down even when the light of order is descending down, and looking at her current look, I lost all my will to continue pursuing the matter. Alright. Is Sulphur Mountain City still fine? Sulphur Mountain City is fine, but the old city Lord Adam isn't fine. Although she said it calmly, it seems that she is still quite delighted in seeing that I didn't object vehemently and take back my words. While feeling sentimental that there would be a day which I get a girlfriend, I am a little curious over hearing that Adam isn't fine. Could it be that some problem occurred when he was blocking the light of order? Did something happen with the Titan heart? I don't think that there would be a problem with my transplant surgery. Adam's thick flesh shouldn't be that weak. No. It is just that after Woomians just ascended to godhood, he and Margaret announced that they were dating and were preparing for the marriage. In the end, a rumor started to arise that Lord Adam has been abandoned by Lord Woomians and Lord Margaret attacked in the time of his weakness. There are even playwrights who used it as a topic, and they added it into the newly published Legend of Woomians. Now, it is a bestseller in Sulphur Mountain City, especially those previous grudges and love-hate relationship. It is really heart-wrenching and exciting. I didn't expect that we would have such an intertwined relationship back then. Right, are you and Adam really blood-related brothers? You have a fiancé with leukemia? Intertwined relationship your head. Didn't you remember your time back then when you were still Lisa? Despite being present, you still listened to these falsehoods they made up. Damn it, to think that the rumors that I was together with Adam still had a continuation. Right. Didn't you spread the rumors? You still dare to say it. But Lisa replies confidently, of course, as your true girlfriend, I have the right to keep watch to ensure that you retain a healthy private lifestyle. Alright, then as your true boyfriend, can I ask what happened to you? Why are you only an avatar right now? Also, when did you have the ability to project an avatar? Yes, I have long realized that the Elisa in front of me is Elisa but not Elisa. She is only a projection of her avatar, and only the true gods of the upper realm and the demons and devils of the lower realm can have this kind of ability. Hee, looks like I can't fool you. Right now, I am not the half-demon Elisa. Please call me Marquis Elisa. Congratulations, to become the girlfriend of a Marquis level great demon. This is really a record breaker. Marquis, even if Elisa demonifies completely, it shouldn't be possible for her to rise through the ranks so quickly. To surpass Cockajil in an instant, how is this possible? What happened in these 2 months? Just when I was shocked about it, Elisa's avatar starts to blur. Looks like her time in maintaining the avatar is running out. Alright, looks like today's projection time is up. About the matter that has happened, I have written them in a letter on the work desk in your old dwelling. You can also ask Annie. Suddenly, the dissipating Elisa walks forward, shifts her hair to the side, lowers her head and lightly kisses on my red lips. On the moment where our lips touch, I only felt a slightly cold sensation before she backs away. She smiles with a bright red face, as though she is the happiest person on the world. My target has been achieved. Also, you aren't allowed to philander. Be careful of my sudden checks. Afterwards, the avatar projection disappears in midair. The only thing remaining is me and my shocked face together with a silver ring on my hand. Alisa. An ominous omen lingers in my head. The shout of my soul reverberates by the riverside. It can't be that I turned single right after I just got myself a girlfriend. Suddenly, a familiar voice rings by my side. I am not dead yet, so stop shouting so loud, my ears are turning numb. Elisa's voice came from the ring. In this moment, in a certain battlefield in the lower realm, a silver-haired demon Marquis lies on her throne. While calmly directing the battle in front of her, she speaks to a familiar skull she holds on her hand. In front of her, an endless army of demons were engaged in a slaughter. It is a demon count who is in the midst of a coup d'etat. As a demon Marquis who is favored by the abyss and soared to the top suddenly, there are still many battles she has to face. I have said that I will not let go of those which I set my eyes upon, regardless of whether it is the power to determine my fate or you. Remember, before I return, you definitely aren't allowed to take off the ring or philander. Otherwise, you still remember what happened that day. I can tell you honestly that your skull is now just a decoration on my coronet. Alright, in the face of such acute threat, I am at a loss again. Finally, it turns into a helpless sigh. System, time to finish the quest. I want to revive. Chapter 67, Myth. Ding. Congratulations for triggering an epic mission, the revival of the Phoenix. Quest objective, investigate and resolve the dangers that Sulphur Mountain City would encounter. Groom Annie. Laid to become a capable leader-like figure before Adam's demise. Quest rewards, epic class discount voucher. Using this, you can purchase any epic level and below merchandise from the system's merchant at half price, the right to start quests of the main storyline. At least, before leaving your hometown, pass it down to someone reliable. After all, you wouldn't hope to see only rubble when you come back. Quest failure penalty. Would turning you into skull with a mushroom growing on it be good? Or would a skull growing from a mushroom be better? Both of them aren't good. Then let's make it a mushroom skull growing from a skeleton. Initially, when I just received this mission, I didn't expect so many things to happen. Right now, starting from the moment when I received this mission, the situation in the underground world has changed vastly. Without this troublesome mission, I wouldn't have taken the initiative to create trouble during the Alliance conference. In the end, no matter what happens during the conference, whether the conference will result in the solidifying of their alliance and elect a leader as expected or them responding to Shu's calling to gather together to attack Sulphur Mountain City, if it wasn't for the mission, many things would be different from what it is now. I want to finish the quest. Hey, system, stop feigning dead. Requisites for the completion of the epic mission. Firstly, Sulphur Mountain City averts the crisis. Secondly, Adam didn't die and won't seek death in the short run. Thirdly, Annie. Lade becomes the leader-like hero. To think you would succeed in all of them. Congratulations, you actually succeeded in seeing through all of the traps and completed all of the hidden missions. The rewards this time will be extremely satisfying for you. This cold notice is actually telling me of the fact that I was tricked once again. The goal of the third mission is to groom Annie as a passable city lord, and that was the expected outcome I was working towards. As for the other two requisites, I really didn't expect them. The part where the mission spoke about resolving dangers, I thought it meant dealing with those traitors and the invading army. Who would have known that this darn system would actually want me to investigate the mastermind and destroy the danger at its root? As for the time limit before Adam's death, it was actually expecting me to stop his death. However, even if I didn't know of these requisites earlier, I somehow still managed to complete all of them. The system might be screwed up, but it can be trusted to pay an amount equal to how much one achieves. I am starting to anticipate the rewards I would receive this time. The triggering of the main storyline has revealed that your soul does not tend towards any of the faction. The system is evolved into its complete form, Fate system. From now on, All evil points and justice points will be converted into fate points, and you will gain power from actions that reverses the despairing fate. Fate system: obtaining power through changing fate. Isn't this my greatest wish? Looks like the theory that the system is a part of my soul might just turn out to be true. The missions from now on will be a choice between justice and evil. The calculation for the rewards for the epic mission will be triggered now. Mission Objective 1: to track the mastermind and remove the dangers threatening Sulphur Mountain City. The mastermind Shu is dead, while Molly has lost her position as the Dragon Empress and Underground Autarch, and thus, she is unable to pose a threat to Sulphur Mountain City. Also, the seal of the Fire Elemental God has been released, causing the demons and Chaos Abyss to lose their interest in Sulphur Mountain City. Sulphur Mountain City has become the land of origin for the power of law and a true god. Countless practitioners of law will traverse and station here, improving its security significantly. All in all, the mission objective has been accomplished perfectly. 5,000 fate points awarded. The rewards may be very attractive, but at this moment, what I was more focused on was the important message hidden within the notice. The seal of the Fire Elemental God has been released. Who released it? Although we have agreed on to release the seal eventually so that the Chaos faction would give up on it, releasing the seal so casually may result in vast amount of trouble. We have to at least weaken it for a decade or so first. But, judging from the fact there is no fire elementals rampaging around, is the seal really released? I didn't receive any answers to my question. The system only systematically calculated my next mission objective. Mission Objective 2, hidden: reverse Adam's fated demise. By replacing the Phoenix heart with the Titan heart, the death of his physical death has been avoided. Currently, he is busy stopping the rumors from spreading, preparing his betrothal gifts and his honeymoon tour. All of his suicidal thoughts has disappeared. Mission 2 has been completed excellently. 3,000 fate points awarded. Looks like the system is really getting used to scamming me. To think that saving Adam and preventing him from dying was actually a hidden objective. Mission Objective 3, main: groom Annie into a leader-like figure and an acceptable city lord. The system will total up all of the fate points accrued through the main storyline and a final evaluation will be made. Hearing this, I feel like I have been scammed again. The system was requesting for a leader-like figure from the very start. If I had only interpreted the phrase leader-like figure as a city lord, the reward I would be awarded will probably only be the basic one. The fate points that I accrue probably only looks at how much I have achieved in the mission. If I had only stayed in Sulphur Mountain City to wait for Annie to take over as the next city lord, I probably wouldn't even earn a single point. Secret mission: the secret of Queen Victoria has been completed. Under your influence, Victoria has started on her path as the Queen of the Dark Elves. She might have started out slower, preventing her from becoming the absolute monarch of the Dark Elf Society, but she will at least become one of the most influential leaders of the Dark Elves. Her friendly relationship with Sulphur Mountain City will bring benefits to Annie. 3,000 fate points awarded. In Morseblight City, the newly appointed Sven matriarch, Victoria, was lecturing everyone from the stage. After gaining control of the Sven family's influence, she immediately purged the second family who were about to usurp their place. At this current moment, she, who has just achieved the ultimate victory in making all of the other matriarchs of the other families of Morseblight City submit to her, has her eyes fixed upon the remainder of Kaja's influence. Secret mission: the rise of the Centaur clan has been completed. Due to your actions, the power behind the Beastman Sovereign Shu Nuia has fallen apart. The Centaurs under Meniel made use of this opportunity to rise up. Due to several circumstances, his niece, Anya, has been inaugurated as the Beastman Sovereign and became the newly appointed Underground Autarch. She will become one of the most powerful ally of Annie. Laid. 5,000 fate points awarded. In the tents on the grassy plains, old Meniel could only look helplessly on the newly appointed Beastman Sovereign rolling around the entire ground. I don't want to go for the meetings, those old geezers are really scary. I want to go to Sulphur Mountain City to play with Big Sister Annie and buy new clothes. When is my delivery package coming? I already said it, I don't want to live in the countryside. Look how inconvenient it is. There wasn't a single trace of the viciousness of the old Meniel a month ago when he suppressed the ambitious crowds to snatch the position of the Beastman Sovereign. At this current moment, in order to protect the dignity of the new Beastman Sovereign, He could only strictly order the guards to prevent anyone from entering while looking helplessly at his own niece, at a loss of whether to laugh or cry. Can't fit in somehow due to limitations of my grammar and vocabulary abilities, but Meniel has taken control of Vance. At this moment, the wrinkled face of his is not one of the chieftain of the Sanctor tribe but rather, an elder who wants to discipline a spoiled child yet being unable to muster the will to be harsh with her. In the end, he could only nod his head and give in. Fine, we will move to Vance 2 days later. Let's all go together. We will all live in mansions instead of tents. Secret mission. The return of the Dragon Princess has been completed. After news that Molly has been converted into a Chaos Demon Dragon leaked out, the underground Dragon City stripped her of her position as a Dragon Empress and her identity as one of the Dragon tribe without hesitation. Furthermore, as the one who defeated the previous Dragon Empress and the sole survivor of the bloodline of the Dragon Emperor, Insmius, Little Red, has been chosen as the new Dragon Empress. However, as Insmius insisted on staying at Sulphur Mountain City, the Dragon tribe built a new Dragon City in its vicinity. From now on, Sulphur Mountain City will come under the protection of the Dragon tribe. Even though Insmius took over the crown to become the new Dragon Empress and is one of the newly appointed underground autarch, as she looks upon Annie Lade as her daughter and dotes on her as such, she will become the most reliable backing of Annie Lade. 5,000 fate points awarded. Sulphur Mountain City. Little Red squints to look at the countless giant dragons in the sky and the gigantic dragon palace being built at a distance not too far away while yawning. She has absolutely no interest in the position of the Dragon Empress. On the other hand, she was extremely interested in how she could exploit her position as the Dragon Empress to steal the fortunes of other giant dragons legitimately. After rising to the position, she is currently looking for a reason to settle old scores with a few of her old friends, making use of the opportunity to clear their treasure vault. Even if it is an ancient dragon, there is no way they could disobey the words of a Dragon Empress. After losing contact with the Dragon City for so many years, it is time for you all to pay 200 years of tax. No money? You can use god equipment in exchange as well. You don't even have god equipment? How the hell are you able to become an ancient dragon? Fine, then a dozen of myth-class treasures. Seems like under the control of this powerful Dragon Empress, there is hope for the underground Dragon City to regain its previous glory. Secret mission. The origin of law has been completed. At the moment which you ascended to godhood, the news that Sulphur Mountain City has become a sacred land for law has spread to each and every corner of the world. At this moment, countless adventurers are heading here to study the power of law. The spatial distortion to Vance, which is just next to the surface world, gives this city extremely high commercial value. It will become one of the renowned cities in the world. Being a city governed by law, its new system of splitting the power between the governor and judiciary and the unique way how different races interact will become the role model for many other cities, and its city lord Annie Lade will gain fame because of this. 10,000 fate points awarded. Why is it me? I don't want to become the supreme judge. At Sulphur Mountain City's Supreme Court, after sending away a guest who came to congratulate him on becoming the Supreme Judge with a calm face, the moment after he closes the door and turns around, the old cow immediately lashes out and roars at his colleagues who were looking at the commotion. He had been so busy recently, so busy that he was unable to engage in his favorite hobby, so busy that he feels that his little partner has not felt the breeze of the wind for too long, leaving him weak spiritually. Cough cough, I am too old. I won't be able to withstand such heavy responsibility. If my physical condition were to deteriorate such that I am unable to carry out the heavy responsibilities that our Lord has left behind, wouldn't I become a sinner? While faking a cough, Kaldea glanced at his other colleagues. It seems that this pure old man is really lacking in strength physically. In reality, everyone was thinking you already had this look when we saw you a few decades ago. As a high elf, even after we all die of old age, you will probably still be living on with this old dying look of yours. Furthermore, there is a need for me to remain at the Hall of Legislation. I am probably the only one who can keep those powerful people who came here to study the power of law in reins. Not to mention, the mission of creating new law incantations. I am really unable to leave my current post. As the #1 expert of the 4 Halls 1 Court, There is indeed a need for the presence of a powerful one to keep the situation under control. Also, as the strongest law incantationer, the responsibility of studying and creating new law incantations lies upon him. Lily flicks helplessly at the silly cow who was panting heavily. I don't really mind it either way, but right now, Lord Margaret is preparing for her honeymoon trip and her successor, the Silver Rose, Lord Alisa, suddenly shirks off all her responsibilities and quits her job. Are you willing to go in my place to the Internal Affairs Bureau? All right. He understands that he is definitely unable to deal with all those documents which are sufficient to drown even an entire room. Xuiti shifts his gaze towards the last of the four heavenly kings of law. In response, Kevin, who just got promoted to the Supreme Judge of Chrome City, tries his best to squeeze his body together to make his existence less noticeable. Kevin, let me swap with you. I will go to Chrome City to continue your work. You can serve as the Supreme Judge. Fine. Then the first thing I will do after I come into power is to create a law that rules nude running as a heavy crime. At the same time, I will get rid of the Gentleman Alliance and Wild Bull Alliance, which is filled with perverts and gays, hanging them up on the flagpoles 3 stories high to dry them. With the current weather, being hanged 3 stories high up will cause sweat to drip down like rainwater. They would probably die of dehydration in less than 2 hours. Drying them on the flagpoles? That is, unless one is intending to make jerky out of them after drying them. The honest-looking middle-aged man laughed heartily as a glint of cold light flashes through both of his eyes. It seems like it is true that the dogs who bite people are the ones who never barks. The ones with the darkest stomach and heart is often those who seem friendly and honest. Xuiti immediately backs down in response to Kevin's laughter. Cough cough, since everyone trusts me so much, I will try my best to become an excellent Supreme Judge. Alright, under several threats, Xuiti carries the god equipment origin of Codex and the semi-god class gavel with a terry face to deal with guests who consistently comes knocking on the door. Behind him, his colleagues were celebrating over the fact that they were able to avoid this heavy responsibility. However, from another perspective, after the original successor, Alisa, chose to resign, the one who had the most prestige of all was him, making him the most suitable successor. It could be said that him taking over as the Supreme Judge was also the wish of the public. Main storyline mission: the only female queen of the underground world has been completed. Late has already stepped into the realm of Saints. After receiving the full support of the newly ascended Dragon Queen and Beastman Sovereign, the influence of Sulphur Mountain City grew together as a whole. Furthermore, with a portion of the elves supporting it, Sulphur Mountain City is backed by 4 out of 5 of the underground autarchs. Going by the system's calculations, there is a 70% chance that the entire underground world could be united by under Annie within 10 years. The main storyline mission has been completed perfectly. 20000 fate points awarded. If I still had a chin, this is definitely a situation for my chin to fall off. After all that I have done, another emperor was about to appear in the underground world. Based on what happened in history, it is definitely an extremely big disaster for the surface world. Due to your amiable relationship with Lade, when the underground world is about to invade the surface, you can try to use diplomacy to remove the possibility of war. Congratulations. You have done very well. You have managed to change the future for the happening of one of the calamity that was fated to happen. To think that it would praise me? Is this still that darn system who always tricks me? However, its reminder made me open up my eyes. A queen like Annie is totally different from those other ambitious fools who crave to build their kingdoms on the surface world. The dwellers of the underground world crave for sunlight and clean air, so the invasion cannot be avoided. The countless wars that occurred in history has proven this point. However, compared to Shu, who has sworn allegiance to the demons, Edur, who swore allegiance to the devils, and the arrogant dragon Empress Molly, if we were to gain control over the proceedings of the invasion, then perhaps, we would be able to make this war into one which wouldn't destroy everything. Immediately, I thought of a few countries which I had grudges with and a few deserted lands where populations were sparse. As long as we invest sufficiently, those deserts and barren land can be made suited for living. It looks like I would have to make a trip to human countries who have access to the tunnels to the underground world. Also, I have to figure out a method to make these human kingdoms accept new neighbors. It may seem highly implausible, but there is still hope. Just when I thought the notices has ended, the system rings out once again. From now on, we will start to calculate the fate points derived from the individual heroes. Moon Knight Diana has hardened her determination to seek her own path. She has conducted a moonlight ritual to change her own skin color and will head to the surface soon. Friendly notice from the system: you are recommended to accompany her on the journey. She will be an effective nanny and meat shield. Eagle Storm has brought a portion of his tribesmen back to the surface. He feels that he has found a new faith in Sulphur Mountain City, and not too far in the future, a druid faction which seeks neutrality and balance as their goal, hoping to fulfill it through law to realize the possibility of harmonious cohabitation, will rise up. 1000 fate points awarded. In Sulphur Mountain City, collaborations between projects of gnomes and goblins has started. Not too far in the future, an entirely new engineering study will arise. The wise Roland's name will be scripted on the annals of history as the founder of the new study. The Roland series robots will also pave the way for daily use, night use, water type, air type and many other types of robots. 1000 fate points awarded. Bei Feng. Herald, under your influence, has finally understood the equality of all beings. Thus, he started on his legendary path. Alright, he is really too disgusting, even the system doesn't want to elaborate more on it. You only have to know that his title is the man who single-handedly created multiple races. 10000 fate points awarded. Looking at that scary 10,000 points, I don't even dare to question on. For a myth hero, even a new druid faction would only give 1000 points. 10,000 points? What exactly did that pervert Bei Feng do? Single-handedly created multiple races? He isn't a mage, so how did he do it? I have roughly guessed a few things here and there, but has chosen rationally to refuse to think about it. After a series of notices, I am already numb to it. Finally, it is time to tally the total amount of fate points I have. Fate points: 124587. Looking at this scary number, I sucked in a large breath of cold air. That darn system wasn't lying when it said that this myth storyline would award me with generously. Of course, given the changes that occurred with the underground world's new queen and other related powers, this is sufficient to change the entire path of what fate has in store for the underground world, so naturally, the amount of fate points I was awarded wouldn't be little. However, the only thing that continues to baffle me is Bei Feng. Herald. The shining golden discount voucher appears in my hand. It looks like I have enough points even without using it for my revival. Alright, let me revive. Right, there's still Elisa. What happened to her? When the four heavenly kings of law were still pushing away the position of power to each other and stabbing each other in the knees, in the undead district of the exact same city, another four heavenly kings were having a joyous reunion. Even counting in the battle that occurred not too long ago, the infallible Defender has only appeared in history twice. Furthermore, all of the people who've seen it the first time has already died entirely. However, the vast and powerful military might still have shocked the entire underground world. At this moment, all of the brave undead warriors were living life as they usually did. The dancing banshees continued dancing and the divining liches continued divining. It is just that due to the undead army who protected the city and all of its citizens that day, the relationship between the two has improved significantly. There were quite a few customers in the Undead Royale theme park. Of course, there were bound to be troubles. However, the Red Hunting Hounds has never been afraid of trouble, especially when there is a true god protecting them now. Even though all of the enemies who have seen that soul world has vanished, but those who were on the same side and seen it before followed the clues and came knocking. At this moment, seated one side in a secret chamber in a shabby old tower are Ghoul King Dekars, Spider Marquis Lionheart, Bone Dragon Queen Graya, and on the other, demonic spatial hellhound Bastion and the abomination Adang, who is snoring away. The four heavenly kings under Emperor Yang I, someone has mysteriously insisted that a four heavenly king must have a fifth personnel, has all gathered together and their secret talks went on for several days. This is our emperor's plans. Of course, this is just a portion of it. If you all are willing to join in, I will tell you the rest of it. The emperor means to say that you all are free to join, and he will not force you into it. In the face of shocking secrets, even Lionheart, who is known as the best strategist of the Zhuo Empire, was caught off guard. However, just as he was still hesitating, his comrades have already made their decisions. This means that our emperor is still in the mortal world. This is great, I want to look for him. Alright, Gria didn't pay any heed to what scheme or plans, she was just happy over the fact that Roland is still in the mortal world. Whatever Appa wants Adang to do, Adang will do. Within the four heavenly kings, Adang and Bastian are part of the 7 deadly sins, creations of Emperor Yongai. Indubitably, they are the most loyal ones of the royal faction. After hesitating for a brief moment, Lionheart nods his head in the end. I also believe in the Emperor's wisdom and decisions. We, the royal faction, has always been loyal to the Emperor and looked forward to the day for the return of the Emperor. All of the gazes settle upon the final one of the 4 heavenly kings, Likars. He has joined the council faction, and if not for the letter from Emperor Yongai in his hands which proves that he is trustworthy, Bastian would have long got rid of him. I have long returned to the commands of our Emperor. I have results of the investigation of the secrets that our Emperor has tasked me to uncover. 6 large-scale dimension of death including skeleton, frost and blasphemy has been opened since 15 years ago. Feynman has been traversing through these dimensions these few days. Hearing news about the dimension of death, everyone was dumbfounded. After all, the undead emperor and undead lords in these dimensions could be said to be the seniors of everyone here. However, the undead emperors of the other dimensions aren't that easy to negotiate with. With just Feynman and his Council of Dark Night, he would just be eaten up by the other party. Based on his progress, a few of the dimensions has agreed to work together with him, and this is only because of the first Senator Gracasio stepping up to conduct these negotiations. I'm afraid that the large-scale undead calamity that our Emperor predicted will come. It is only a matter of time at this point. Feynman analyzed that the time these undead lords and emperors would require for the preparations of war would not exceed 30 years. Boss, help me send this news to our Emperor. Yes, Likars, whose appearance is of a large-built man right now, was tasked by Roland to serve as a spy in the council. Despite spending more than 10 years in there, he wasn't able to gain sufficient trust to access important information, but through tracing trails and bribing spies, he gained quite a bit of information. The emergence of the collusion between the first senator and second senator, as well as the military intelligence of the intention of many undead dimensions to invade Ike, made them fell into despair. Darn it, if the third senator was still alive, things wouldn't have progressed to such a state. Lionheart immediately understood how new experts were appearing one after another in the council faction. When the first senator and second senator collaborate together with the support of the dimensions of death, coupled with the death of 2 neutral senators with the last one severely injured, the tilting of the power of Zhuo Empire towards them is just a matter of time. Fine, due to someone's interference, the disappearance of the Queen of Banshees Harlois has become a case without any leads. Without her keeping the powers in Zhuo in check, the council faction is without any equals, allowing them to gain control of the full authority at an even quicker pace. However, Bastian simply smiled. All of the proceedings were within the expectations of the Emperor. Then, since everyone decided to stand on the same boat, then let's listen to the words that our Emperor left behind. This is what he said. Chapter 68, The Arbiter. 2 weeks after Wumian's ascension to godhood. After Annie took over the position of the city lord, many things started to fall back into place. Due to Roland's departure, Adam was much more caring towards Elisa. However, what was reassuring was that Elisa was exceptionally strong. She didn't wallow in sadness as they expected. Rather, she not only worked as per normal, she showed even more smiles than she usually did, as though she had already got past her previous trauma. But, it seems that she was only using work as an excuse to bury her sadness. She took the initiative to work overtime, leaving early in the morning and returning late at night. She appeared less and less frequently in public places. Her friends also sympathetically didn't interrupt her at this point in time. At the same time, outside Sulphur Mountain City, the hot spring that Adam built out of a whim became a tourism spot well known within the city. The originally normal pool water was used by Adam as a medium to draw heat away from the fire elemental god. In order to suppress and weaken the fire elemental god, Annie took over his job and went there every night to draw heat away from the pool. Due to the excessive heat, the pool water turned into a man-made hot spring. After the news that the Druids had inspected the water, which had a hint of sulfur smell similar to that of the mines, and affirmed that the water was beneficial to one's body, it instantly became the hottest tourism spot of Sulphur Mountain City. However, it is a pity that good sights don't last long. The extraction of heat that was estimated to go on for at least more than a decade suddenly came to an end. In less than a week, the water of the hot spring cooled down. After a commotion that lasted for just a few days, it reverted back into a deserted land without a single person. Releasing Aeroas only when he is weakened to his limits, thus halting any plans that the Chaos faction has regarding him. At the same time, allowing the elemental tide to progress as how it did in history while weakening the impacts of the release of the ancient elemental god. This is the plan which Roland and the rest came up with after a series of discussions. But, at this moment, the heat suddenly vanished. This could only mean that the ancient fire elemental god Arolis grew weak rapidly or even died. The Chaos faction could not possibly allow such a thing to happen. The one who came previously was a count. The next one might just happen to be a duke. It is something that makes one worry about. However, what was bizarre was that even after Adam and the rest heightened their awareness and the security around the area, even stopping the drawing of heat from the spring, the pool water mysteriously became colder and colder. Even so, the Chaos faction didn't make any moves. This lack of reaction makes one feel like there might be a greater scheme behind it. Annie, who was tasked to look over this spring, would come every day to inspect the spring every day. Today, she decided to follow one of the suggestions of her godfather and dug a little hole in the water to bury herself in it. Finally, through this foolish method, she found the culprit behind Aroas's weakening. At midnight, at the peak of the freezing cliff, two female warriors were crossing blows. Similar to the countless usual fights they had, Annie, who as a warrior, was being suppressed by a mage in a direct battle. Just as she was putting all of her mind into the physical brawl, a cold thread suddenly hooks onto her ankles. Then, with a pull of the thread, the enemy made use of her loss of balance to throw in a few blows. Her old opponent didn't go easy on her at all. The young Annie was bound totally with several cuts by the threads on her body. Why, big sister Elisa? What do you want? Yes. The one who turned the pool water icy cold and caused the ancient fire elemental god to weaken to the point of death was Elisa. What did I do? I only used my marauder to rob the fire elemental god of his powers. Arolis, who is completely suppressed by the seal, to me, who is also a fire element belonging to the Chaos faction, is a piece of delicious and nutritious fodder. Impossible. That is way beyond the limits of your physical body. How can an ant eat an elephant? Then, I would just have to eat a little bit of snacks to increase the capacity of my physical body. The mountainous winds cut at night. A cold gale blows and the dark clouds scatter slightly. The faint yellow lights of the luminescent algae shine down. It was a familiar face, yet it seems slightly unfamiliar. Half of her originally silky smooth silver hair has been dyed a blood red color by the fire element. The other half of her hair had the additional smell of ice. Her icy cold face of previous days vanished without a trace. On her face, which rivals with those of the seductive succubus, is an even colder smile. It is the kind of brutal smile that looks forward to playing with its prey and slaughter it. The night wind blew apart her fringe, revealing the dim yellow narrowed pupils of a beast, the most distinguishing sign of a demon. At this moment, Elisa is no longer a half-demon. After letting go of herself to accept the calling of the abyss, she is already a true demon. In an instant, Annie understood it all. Then, what about Cockagill's heart, which is placed in the nation's storage vault? Did you take it too? A demon's heart is the source of their power. Demons consume each other to evolve. In actuality, the thing that they eat is the other's heart. In that war, Cockagill's physical body was reduced into ashes, but its heart still remained, making it the most valuable of the spoils of war. Thus it is kept in the nation vault. Yes, although I stamped the Internal Affairs Bureau and the Supreme Court's seal by myself, no one actually checked it and allowed me to simply walk into the vault. I spent a week to devour those 4 demonic hearts. No matter how much you try to prevent something from happening, An insider's job is always hard to guard against. Who would have expected that the most probable successor to the Supreme Court and the Internal Affairs Bureau would actually steal the thing she was guarding? Elisa's soul imprint is very unique. It allows her to take away power that her body is able to bear. Jill, who scorches the land and walks on and was proficient in using shooting stars and fire rain kind of forbidden spell, is also a fire element demon. Another suitable nutritious fodder for Elisa. Cold sweat trickles down Annie's back. She also knows of the ability of Elisa's soul imprint, and the basic ability of demons to consume each other to further their power is a perfect match with her marauder. With these two together, even if Elisa couldn't match up with Jill now, she wasn't far off from him. It seems that you have finally got it. In order to sustain this state of mind without being driven off to another dimension, it wasn't really easy for me. Don't force me to use my true strength, it wouldn't be good for anyone. There was a hint of bitterness to Elisa's smile. She finally attained the power she hoped of, but the first person she had to use it on after obtaining it was actually against her own friends. This is really a kind of amazing irony. After finishing her piece, she intended to leave like that. Since she got found out, it is best for her to hasten the speed of the devouring, perhaps opening the seal tonight to complete the devour. Like that, Uncle Bones will be upset. Upset? She only treats me as his daughter, his younger sister. I don't want that kind of upset. Don't be like that, big sister Elisa. There must be some other way, we can work it out together. Annie's shout from her back made her stop. Annie thought that she was hesitating, but what she was about to face was Elisa's furious questioning. Annie laid. What do you know? Do you think that everyone is as fortunate as you, destined to become a powerful expert? It took me nearly a century to reach my current level, but you were able to stand at the same height as me despite not even being 20. If this goes on, give it another 20 years, after you fully merge with the Phoenix's heart, I would be even less of an opponent to you. Is this the difference between our talents and hard work? You are a genius that everyone takes good care of. Everyone dotes on you, the Phoenix inheritance waits for you, the gods' all-earned blessing of the Phoenix waits for you, the seat of the city lord waits for you. As for me, what do I have? I only have that log-headed fool. Now, because of these darned calamities, he is about to leave me too. I don't have anything left. Nothing left. Speak, how do you intend for me to accept such a reality? Big sister Elisa. Mumbling, Annie really doesn't know how she could reply. Do you know how it feels like watching the light of order shining down on you, bringing about your impending doom? Do you know it feels like to watch the person you love die again and again? I have had enough. I have had enough of this feeling of weakness and inability to do anything. I have had enough of standing behind that fool, watching him being wounded again and again. This time, I want to amass sufficient power to stand by his side, regardless where the power comes from, regardless of whether this power is the evil in everyone's eyes. Under Annie's question, the icy cold emotionless mask finally shatters. All the emotions that she had been accumulating finally finds an opening to be released. Along with her furious howls that come from deep within her heart, tears start to fall from the young lady with clenched fists, but they turned into embers from the overflowing fire mana within her, extinguishing in midair. Seeing the tears of the other party, Annie stands up. Annie doesn't understand, but Annie knows that if Big Sister Elisa goes into the world of demons, Uncle Bones will be depressed. Annie doesn't want Uncle Bones to be depressed, nor do Annie wants Big Sister Elisa to leave. Annie doesn't want this kind of future. Annie just wants everyone to stay together happily, to have a future where no one has to shed tears. The flames of the Phoenix burn once again. The bloodline which turns one stronger the more they undergo has turned Annie into a human-shaped phoenix. As the light of rules light up, a soul imprint of the Order faction finally forms. At this crucial moment, Annie Lade successfully breaks through into the realm of legends. The Watcher. The flames of the Phoenix turn into an insignia of a shield and bow crossing each other with clear eyes behind them. The insignia showed the nature of the soul imprint, to protect and to watch over. Following afterwards, the faint image of a phoenix burning in an inferno shows that she is definitely not any kind of normal legend rank. After breaking through this bottleneck, she immediately heads directly towards the next bottleneck and attempts to advance into the realm of saints. Before Annie could even make sense of her newfound power after breaking into the realm of legends, A punch heads straight towards her face. The fearsome brute strength sent the legend rank warrior flying. In the next moment, countless threads follow her and binds her again. Annie, let Big Sister teach you one final lesson. Without power, you can't achieve anything. A kind will without power to back it up, it is just harming you yourself and those around you. Along with the rising flames, the new demon noble Elisa showcases her power. With a furious roar, the endless phoenix flames were absorbed by her. Under the heavy blows of Elisa, Annie was unable to retaliate anyhow and faints. With the threads drawing power from her, the newborn legend expert is probably going to be asleep for a long time. At this moment, there is no longer anyone who is able to stop Elisa from completing her revolution through devouring Alice. When the future demon Marquis walks out from the seal, two people were already waiting at the entrance. Annie, who was left hanging on the tree, was now lying peacefully in the embrace of a figure dressed in blue. "Hey, Elisa." Still the same greeting without any consideration for the atmosphere. It seems as though the three of them have planned on this meeting together. Elisa and the two semi-gods weren't in the least surprised by the other party's presence. "You two aren't going to stop me?" "Of course, everyone has the right to choose their own future. This is your choice, so why would we stop you? We are just here to send you off. It matters not whether you are Elisa or Lisa, at the very least, we were once friends." Squatting there and speaking unreliable words, Adam took out a handkerchief and waved to her to send her off. Immediately afterwards, the handkerchief with blue lilies stitched on it was immediately confiscated by Margaret, who was blushing bright red. "Without power, you can't achieve anything. A kind will without power to back it up, it is just harming you yourself and those around you. Although it is a bit extreme, you aren't wrong. Annie should be able to accept it." Margaret was looking at Elisa with a face that is similar to how one would be delighted by their best apprentice was doing well in her career. While saying these words, she nods her head in approval. Since they heard all these, it means that they had arrived long ago, just that they didn't appear earlier. Shaking her head, Elisa didn't say anything else. After all, some things are better left unexposed. As the demon gate opens and Elisa was about to walk in, Margaret's voice suddenly sounds out again. Only this time, the usual coldness in her voice is absent and in its place is warmth. "No matter what happens, Sulphur Mountain City is your home. If you suffer any grievances, you are welcome back anytime. I will be back. Roland, that fool needs me." As the voice disappears as the dimension gate closes, leaving two semi-gods staring at each other. Looks like Elisa has finally found something within her. From my estimates, there is an 80% chance that Roland, being soft in his heart despite having a vicious mouth, would be unable to withstand her attacks. What do we do with Annie now? What about the thing you promised her? This time, it is time for Adam to look helpless. Initially, I intended to come with a last-minute entrust. Before my death, I would hold Roland's hand and say, "Promise me that you will marry Annie, otherwise I would be unable to die in peace." Going by Roland's personality, he would most probably agree to it on the spot. As long as he agrees to it, he would most probably carry out his promise. But, I didn't manage to die, so why don't we try it once again after Roland returns? Alright, it seems that Adam's supposed preparations was actually just this. But, shouldn't be said, as expected of Adam. It might seem nonsensical, but he was able to accurately pinpoint on the vitals. If he were to really carry it out, there is a high possibility of it actually succeeding. Looking at his foolish face, Margaret's anger appears all at once. "Nonsense. Do you believe that fool around this time, Roland will really kill you with a single blade?" "Forget it, let's not bother anymore. Our child will find the one suited for her, let her settle it by herself. Alright, let me revive." "Right, there's still Elisa. What happened to her? Also, who released the seal of the fire elemental god?" There was no reply to my question once again. In the end, a piece of memory pierces through my mind, one that was left behind by Elisa. That memory flashes through my brain, and after that, I was silent for a long while. "It is worth it? Of course, you have asked something like that before. Do you remember it?" I suddenly recall, that was when I told the plan to Elisa. This is how she asked me. "Master, to sacrifice so much, is it worth it?" Of course it is worth it. There can't be rewards if we don't sacrifice something. If we don't change anything, what is awaiting this world is only destruction and calamity, and I personally think that there is still a lot of things worth living for here. But, the voice of a young lady suddenly projects out at this point. But, don't be mistaken. I am not doing this for the world. I am just doing this for a log-headed fool. Remember, the world doesn't owe me a favor, but you do. After being silent for a long time, I finally laughed. Fine, I owe you that. When you return, I will repay you back. That's more like it. I will help you look up news on Carwins. That's all. Recently, I have been really busy. Those demon rascals, they betray me and conduct rebellions time after time again. They're even more deserving of a beating than you. Soon after, the silver ring darkens. It is difficult for a communication device to transcend dimensions. Based on the description by the system, this ring can only be activated a maximum of 3 times every day, and the total time it is activated cannot surpass a minute. Seeing by how contact is made suddenly these 2 times, the word to activate this ring is probably Elisa. At this moment, I solemnly jot down this favor I owe in my mind and turn my attention towards the system. In this instant, the system, in response to my request, has listed down all of the different types of physical body I could make. Normal human's physical body: strength, 10 agility, 10 stamina, 10 intelligence, 27 will, 19 charm, 10 race talent, no lifespan, 60 years recommended job, any job. This normal human's physical body is really not worth mentioning. Other than the intelligence and will stats that come along with the soul, the other stats are a mere 10 points. Furthermore, it has a short lifespan. Naturally, I wouldn't choose it. However, the advantages that a human possesses is that it can choose any job and is able to move freely on the surface. The difference in basic stats may not seem like a big thing at this point, but as they grow, the gap in the basic stats and race talents will just grow bigger and bigger. This is the greatest disadvantage of the body. The system also had quite the one-sided mind. It listed out more than 50 types of body, but over half of them are just a white tier physical body, no system ranking, that I wouldn't even consider. The ones that attracted me the most are naturally the few golden bloodlines listed at the very bottom. Son of the ancient red dragon, dragon descendant, strength, 19 agility, 12 stamina, 28 intelligence, 25 will, 17 charm, 16 race talent, dragon form, dragon wings, dragon breath recommended jobs, mage, warrior lifespan, 2000 evaluation, silver pinnacle system notice. You can find Dragon Empress Insme's used to undergo the dragon form ritual to gain her bloodline to turn into a true dragon. Considering your relationship with her, it isn't hard to carry out this task at all. However, you would probably have to call her mum in the future, although the system notice really makes one at a loss of words. The power of the red dragon is not one to be underestimated. An ancient red dragon is a half-diamond bloodline. If they were to evolve into an immemorial dragon and obtain a diamond bloodline, their battle prowess would be even more reliable. Furthermore, after playing around as Lich for a long period of time, I have had enough of having a brittle physical body. The powerful physical body of the dragon tribe is indeed very attractive. But, the fall in the intelligence and will stats rather than increasing shows that this physical body has a negative impact on intelligence. However, considering that I would be heading towards human civilization in the future, and obviously an orthodox species such as a dragon descendant isn't very suited, I will only keep this in mind and consider it if there aren't any better choices. The immortal one, man-made physical body strength, 12 agility, 12 stamina, 15 intelligence, 30 will, 20 charm, 18 race talent, immortality, rapid learning, spellcasting proficiency recommended job, mage. After that, saint is recommended. Evaluation, hold system notice. There is no need talk about how this bloodline came about. It is definitely powerful. As it is the clone of a particular person, there might be some side effects, such as having the same outer appearance and skin color as the original. You understand. Now, if you were to call in, we will even send you a complimentary Margaret suit. Side effect? Similar skin color. I think even the face would look alike. A portion similar to her? I reckon that it will be identical, turning me into a woman. Trying to scam me? It won't be that easy. A straight pass. The divine child of the god of law, god descendant strength, 12 agility, 12 stamina, 18 intelligence, 27 will, 17 charm, 20 race talent, son of law. The speed which the power of law powers up at is increased by 100% and its effectiveness is heightened by 30%. Recommended job: the bunch of law jobs which you invented yourself. Evaluation: gold system notice. Stop hesitating. This is the job most suited for you. Also, I would like to ask you, how does it feel being your own son? Alright, ignoring the darned notice once again, I am a little tempted by this physical body. However, this body of a god descendant is obviously sided towards the Order faction, which means I would have to split ways with necromancy. This way, the infallible Defender, would turn useless. On this point, the weakest human is instead the strongest. They don't have any inclinations towards any factions, they are able to undertake any jobs and they could utilize any power. However, thinking of humans, I recalled the previous generations of the Children of Order, reminding me of the 2 unique presents that Ayer gave me, so I immediately handed them over to the system. After a long period of time, in the menu list of the system, 2 more physical body options appear. The bloodline of the first generation child of order, royalty, god descendant strength, 18 agility, 18 stamina, 20 intelligence, 27 will, 17 charm, 20 race talent, war angel form. Evaluation: Diamond bloodline. Recommended job: Order Knight system notice. As expected of the ones favored by the goddess of order, powerful beyond the expectations. Order Knight is a basic job that system created based on this bloodline. It is able to use any power of order, including law and holy light. It is definitely powerful. Perhaps, it might not be as powerful as the one below, but it definitely has limitless potential. Some things can only be seen through comparison. Without doubt, this bloodline is really overpowered. However, the Child of Order has the same weakness as the Child of Law. They aren't able to tolerate necromancy, causing negative effects on my soul world. On the other hand, the bloodline of the first generation Child of Chaos, royalty, devil descendant strength, 22 agility, 20 stamina, 22 intelligence, 29 will, 20 charm, 8 trace talent, sinful devil god form. Evaluation: Diamond bloodline. Recommended job: Chaos Witch King, Devil Knight system notice. Seriously overpowered basic stats together with a perfect physical body. Choose him and you will obtain endless power. Of course, if you were to accidentally reveal your devil bloodline, just hope that you can run fast enough. Other than charm, all of the basic stats are beyond 20. These are stats that are easily above that of the basic stats of legend rank experts. This physical body is really powerful beyond all imagination. However, it has the exact same problem as the one above: it is unable to tolerate powers of order. Thus, I really hesitated. Without doubt, this choice is extremely important. But, no matter which one I choose, there would be regrets left behind. If only I can put the both of them together into one. How can there be such a wonderful thing in the world? Just by thinking about it, one would know that it is impossible. Thus, I shook my head, but suddenly, the system rings out. It is possible, but fate points has to be paid for the physical bodies of both of the bloodlines. What? If it is doable, why didn't you say so earlier? Why didn't you list it out? You didn't ask me. Fine, stop the crapping, quickly list it out. Bloodline of the Arbiter strength, 19 agility, 19 stamina, 19 intelligence, 29 will, 19 charm, 19 race talent, war angel form, sinful devil god form. Evaluation: Double Diamond bloodline. Recommended jobs: Order Knight, Chaos Witch King system notice. The bloodline of the Arbiter, which lies on the border of both Order and Chaos, doesn't belong to any of the factions and is also able to coexist with any of the factions. The bloodlines which came from the same source but yet are different created this miracle-like physical body. Perhaps, it can't be said to be the strongest, but it definitely holds the greatest potential. Looking at this, I was delighted. However, I hesitated and asked a question which shows my lack of contentment. Since we are able to mix, Then can we add a bit of dragon blood, phoenix blood and such to strengthen the toughness of the physical body? I can gather blood from them. However, the system's reply was a bucket of cold water. Do you think that a mixed breed dog would be more valuable than a pure breed dog? This is the cloning of genetics to create a physical body, not creating a medicine. Excessive bloodlines would only cause the physical body to break apart. You would be fortunate if you just turned into a monster. This physical body is only possible as both bloodlines come from the same source but under a creator god level god powers, turned into two opposite kind of life. That's why it is possible for them to merge together as one. This is a rare exception. However, you can try to collect 7 different colors of dragon blood and make a wish. See if it can become a rainbow-colored dragon bloodline. I will help you make Mary Sue's 7-colored long hair. TL, Mary Sue really not sure which show this is. I googled the Chinese word and this is the result I got. Since that's the case, then there's nothing more to talk about. This would be it. However, going by my understanding of the system's spirit to scam me, it would be weird if there is nothing wrong with the body. There is no mistake in being warrior. What kind of deficiencies does this physical body has? Just say it out straight. This body, in order to maintain equality, must train in both order and chaos power simultaneously, thus requiring one to invest a large amount of time and effort. Double basic jobs? Order Knight, Chaos Witch King? This is a good thing. Or rather, is there other fatal flaws? Opening the introduction page to the system's job introduction, I found out that Order Knight is just like the combination of both Holy Knight and Justice Knight, while Chaos Witch King is the combination of Necromancer and Elemental Mage. These are all routes I have walked on before and thus, they are paths that suit me the best. This double job isn't separate. On the screen, the 4 skill trees intersect with each other, forming each other. The skills and abilities that I have learned before are indicated by a gray mark on the skill tree. For example, Icean, which is on the top of the Ice Magic skill tree, and the Infallible Defender, which requires all 4 classes to be at least of legend rank. At where the Necromancy skill tree and Ice Magic skill tree intersect, there are even combination techniques like Summon Ice Lich. The growth rate of special classes is 1.5 times the difficulty of normal classes. However, going by the 2 times difficulty of a double special class and considering the slow physical body growth rate of a double diamond bloodline, all in all, it is at least 3 times the difficulty of a normal human's growth. Hearing this, I only felt joy. Isn't it just 3 times experience penalty? What do I have to be scared about growing slightly slower? After all, I am able to use fate points in order to forcefully raise my experience bar. Right now, problems outside here will keep coming one after another. Even if I don't have enough points, I can just do a few more epic missions to earn them. I am not afraid of it growing slowly, I am just afraid that it will not turn out strong enough in the end. Alright, this will be it. The physical body, which has a sales price of a hulking 200,000 fate points, after using the discount voucher, turned into 100,000 fate points. Even so, the points that I earned so great difficulty only had 20,000 remaining. It is difficult to earn money, but easy to squander it all in an instant. Following the descent of light on my body, the familiar touch of a physical body brought comfort to me. Roland.Mist, is finally revived. Finally, I am a man once again. I finally have my little partner. I can finally openly whistle towards beautiful ladies. As usual, my happiness wasn't long-lived. Very quickly, when I looked at my reflection by the dark river, a scream of agony is released once again. System, you actually scammed me again. One of these days, I will strike you. You didn't ask about it. Hee hee, the motto of our service is that your dissatisfaction is our satisfaction, your unhappiness is our happiness, the one we are scamming is you. Thank you for your patronage. We will be looking forward to your return. Oh, and don't forget to leave positive reviews. Chapter 69, The Return. I was foolish, I really was. Cloaked in a black mantle that I borrowed from a kind merchant, I cover myself tightly as I tread carefully across the roads of Sulphur Mountain City. I knew that the system would never have good intentions, its recommendations would always have problems, so those are the ones which I should never choose. What I didn't know was that even things that seem to have no problems will have problems occurring after going through the hands of the system. Look, The average stats of the two bloodlines is much higher than my current stats. This obviously shows that there is a problem with the physical body. Also, that darn charm value. There is no way the system would allow me to be welcomed into the embrace of those seductive eyes. This is obviously a trap. Why did I jump into it then? I was really foolish, really foolish. The little bat beside me stares fiercely at me. Enough. This is the 100th or 200th time that you have been nagging about it. Did your intelligence disappear along with your previous body? No, it is just that my mood lifts after seeing you in an even more pathetic state than me, so I felt like nagging a bit more. Magic pet, Harl Ois, main body of greed, race, unable to be classified, strength, 12 agility, 10 stamina, 30 intelligence, 28 will, 25 charm, depends job, LV1 mage evaluation, race talent, transmogrification, lower tier, system evaluation. This is your magic pet, but she is constantly thinking of how to get rid of you within the limitations of the contract. Now, you don't have to worry about her rebelling against you. The Great Queen of Banshees can only alternate between the form of a bat and a little cat. The most destructive skill of hers is probably just a cat paw. Well done. To think that there would be someone worse off than you. When I died temporarily, Harl Ois, who almost got destroyed because of it, was absorbed into the system. Now that I am revived, she was revived along with me. It is just that even at LV1, I am still a living person while she is unable to sustain her human form at LV1. Are you sure? If I were to remove your mantle here and scream that there is someone running about nude here, what do you think will happen? Grinding her teeth together, the little bat spits out the most fearsome threat that she knows. But, I simply smiled in response. Feel free, nude running is already a daily occurrence here, no one will be bothered by it. Nude running can no longer be considered a news. Only no one engaging in nude running for a few days can be called news. Hey, do you take me for a fool? How can there be such a fearsome place? Catch that naked bull. Right, the one who is nicknamed King of Nudity. Don't let him get away. After staying put for a few days, you Wild Bull Alliance actually started to become active again. This time, we will lock them up for an entire month. Before Harlois could even finish her words, her eyes and mouth widen in shock. I stare numbly as the naked Taran leading a pack of naked men whistling through. Soon afterward, a group of dark elf knights passes us by. A supreme judge with the glorious title of King of Nudity? Somehow, my heart starts to ache. My worry for the Supreme Court and the shame I feel from that embarrassment originating from my organization intersected together. I had an urge to cleanse my organization of this embarrassment by assassinating him. However, if I were to draw my blade in rage at this moment, not only will I be unable to kill him, I would be destroyed instead. Let's go. I have many toys in my lab that uses illusion to change outer appearances. There's really nothing I can do with my current appearance. While looking for a method to deal with that fellow in my head, I tightened my grip on the mantle wrapped around me. From a certain perspective, this city is the safest one of all of the underground cities, but from another perspective, it is also the most dangerous one of them all, especially now that I am not in my best condition. While dodging the sights of others, I pull my magic pet along with me. At the same time, Harlois stares dumbfounded at the opposite street. A few holy knights were currently chatting happily with a death knight. This is a scene that can't possibly be seen in any other areas, a harmonious sight between the order and chaos. I wanted to brag a bit to Harlois, but the next instant, they started fighting together while hurling insults at each other. The fight was quite intense, with both sides throwing lethal attacks at each other. This is more like it. Harlois nods her head, satisfied. But when the contents of their argument reach us, Harlois freezes once again. You lying bastard, where is the matchmake with the banshee that you promised? Why were there only female zombies present? Look at her face, there are even maggots on it. Do you think we can look at her? DSK, you little rascal who don't understand anything, this is the fashion of our undead district. Also, do you think you are all that innocent? What about the beautiful priestesses you promised us? Why did Cantinantes come instead? You think that we are fools? There are already quite a few audiences who are cheering by the side. The more heated their argument got, the more brutal their blows became. However, The Death Knights didn't draw their rune swords while the Holy Knights didn't use their holy light. Instead, they fought just like normal men with their punches and their kicks. You want the banshees and medusas of our district? Don't even talk about opening the doors for you. Even the windows are tightly shut. The few of us aren't even able to get our hands on them. Why should we introduce them to you? HMPH, I will just tell you truthfully. We even have to wrestle with our bodies just to gain the opportunity to talk with the priestesses. With such severe lack of resources, why should we introduce them to you? Alright, from the jeering of the audiences, the entire matter is made clear. Both sides had formed a group in hope of laying hands on the female resources of the other side without giving in anything. In the end, when the both sides clashed together, they realized the other's intentions. A match make between the undead and Holy Knight? Has the world gone mad, or am I the one who has gone mad? Harlois has still yet to recover from the sight. Should I be thankful for the fact that I have a living body? Looking at these living treasures, I grab my belly. That should be where my stomach is. For the first time, I experienced what stomachache and neuralgia is. Neuralgia, intense intermittent pain along the course of a nerve, especially in the head or face. Can anyone contact the town security? Don't move. Who is the one causing this ruckus? Haha. It is you bunch of bastards again. You all are quite amazing, to actually bring a dummy ram in a center for the previous 3 matchmaking sessions. If we didn't react quick enough and called the legendary Baifeng over to scare away our beauties, we would have handed them over to you for nothing. This time, let us settle the new scores together with the old ones. Eat my sin-splitting strike. Alright. Looks like we don't even have to call the town security over. Those graduates from Nangxiang have already arrived, but somehow, from the words they say, should I be surprised about their relationship? Alright, somehow, the pain in my stomach intensifies. Hey! Suddenly, a person violently sent me flying. Sorry, Momo was chasing those bastards. So it was the Dark Elf Town security member who accidentally knocked into my body while engaging in an arrest. My mantle was knocked off and light glares into my eyes, stinging me. However, the moment I see the look of surprise on Momo's face, I immediately awaken from my confusion. I immediately used my mantle to cover my entire body once again. The system isn't so kind as to gift you a free set of clothes just because you revived. Just as what Harlois said. A newborn physical body comes totally nude. I was wearing nothing beneath my cloak. I have no relations with those fellows of the Wild Bull Alliance. I am a newcomer here to learn the power of law, just that I met with some thieves, causing my clothes to be stolen. I tried my best to recall my smile number 2 when I was still a holy knight, a righteous smile of someone innocent. At the same time, I tried to distance myself from that bunch of perverts. I don't have to be caught into the boys' home for no reason. I am without a penny. I am here to seek help from my Lich uncle named Roland. This is Amiao, my best friend. Then, I raised Harlois up to the face of the Dark Elves. At this instant, under my orders, she has transformed into a cute little black cat. Again, under my orders through the pet contract, the dignified Queen of Banshees, despite her eyes being on the verge of shooting fire beams, could only obediently learn to meow to look cute. Meow. Hee, girls don't have much resistance towards cute things. Furthermore, after seeing that I am of no threat, they would definitely let me go after conducting a simple check. But very quickly, I realized that my actions were excessive. The female Dark Elf Town security ignores the meowing Queen of Banshees and instead, stares fixedly at me, not saying a single word. Then, saliva starts dripping down. I have finally struck it rich. A top quality Shota. At this moment, an inconceivable fury boils in me as I howl out. You are the Shota. Your entire family is Shotas. Alright, I admit that I have been scammed by the system once again. What training from young is good for one to gain perfect control of their body, and what this allows one's soul to merge better with one's physical body. No matter how much self-consoling excuse I come up with, I am unable to hide the fact that I had been scammed. A 14-year-old physical body is indeed the expected age of my physical body, as well as the true form of my soul. Thus a body of that age will allow merging of my soul and my physical body to go more smoothly. But how the hell would I know that the ancient humans have a lifespan that exceeds 200 years? 14 years old is still a kid to them. Yes, The first generation humans had an average lifespan that is at least twice as long compared to the current humans. With my 14-year-old physical body, I look at most 10. I should have known that compared to the other two physical body choices, the reason why the stats of this physical body are slightly on the lower side is because it is simply too young, and the reason why my charm is so high is because little kids tend to be cuter. That's right. Cute. Cuteness that has nothing to do with handsome. Golden colored hair that is radiating the glisten of the sun, paired with red cheeks that is reminiscent of a red apple that was just rinsed with water, tempting one to give it a bite. The white skin looks very hydrated, as though it has never come under the sun. Last but not least, the sun-like smile that is affixed to his little face makes one really feel his lively personality. Turning younger isn't scary. What is scary is that even when I use the dark river as a mirror to look at my reflection, I felt that I looked like a gigantic doll, extremely cute. 19 points in charm. If a grown man were to have so much charm, he would be unmatched if he uses it to flirt with girls. However, on a child, what is the use of being so cute? But this still isn't the most treacherous thing about the system. Having a youthful outer appearance isn't a big matter for mages. There are all kinds of medicines and tools that could be used to conceal one's true age. Old grannies and old demons acting young could be seen everywhere. As long as I return to my lab to retrieve some of my hidden tools, there's no difficulty whatsoever in passing off as a grown man. However, my greatest problem now is that I might have my little fellow now, but it hasn't developed yet. That is as good as not having it at all. That is the crux of the problem. I knew that the system would definitely be up to something. It was difficult for me to get rid of my body as a lich, but in exchange, I was given this undeveloped physical body. Now, my first aim is to quickly return back to my underground study to check up on the time required for the first generation humans to develop and when I can get married. Alright. I know that there would be no book that would be so lame to talk about these, but it isn't a crime to think about these. At this moment, looking at the frenzied dark elf who had a puddle of saliva on the ground below her, I knew that I was facing a big crisis. Small cutie. No, I mean little friend, do you want to see goldfishes with Big Sister? Big Sister's home has many cute little animals. Goldfish? Goldfish in the underground world? You think that I am stupid? Being just LV1. There is definitely no way I am able to beat a town security member who is at minimum a silver rank. Right, little friend, I have a lollipop here. Looking at this idiotic elf actually retrieving a large bunch of candies from her breastplate, I had totally no idea what her brain is made of. Is this still the town security that Sulphur Mountain City prides itself on? Thinking about this, my stomach hurts even more. Release me. No way. It was so difficult for me to find one that fits my taste. Momo is definitely going to capture this one back to raise. After a few years, I would be able to reap my rewards. Momo would be the one to marry first. Alright, Momo seems to have forgotten her role as an enforcer and is currently lost in her daydream. Hee hee, to have such a cute little hubby, Momo would be envied to death by her other sisters. I want to flirt with beautiful girls, but not this kind of beautiful girls who are into child grooms. Without a second word, I turn around to flee. However, with just 2 steps, the pain in my stomach intensifies and I fell to the ground helplessly. Why does it feel so awful? My entire body is lacking in strength. Could it be that there is something wrong with the composition of my physical body? Suddenly, I felt the sensation of being carried up. The voice of the frenzied elf echoes by my ear. Why are you so light, little friend? Have you obediently eaten your meal yet? Eaten my meal? Alright, I finally recall what I forgot. I spent 2 days walking here from the dark river. Having just revived, I have long forgotten about the habits of the living, so I totally didn't expect that I would have to eat. At the same time, Harlois, who is also an undead, wouldn't think of reminding me. So it isn't a stomach ache, it is hunger pangs. Seeing from how I am fine from not eating for 2 days, it seems that this body is still quite healthy. After coming to a realization, in the next moment, I faint from hunger. But fortunately, before fainting, I spent the last bit of my strength to shout, "Save me, there is a weird Andy here who wants to feed me milk." Seeing how the other town security come rushing over in a hurry, I should be able to retain my chastity. A tragedy. Darn system, I will never forgive you. Chapter 70, The Experimental Log of the Crazy Lich. Due to the disappearance of Lich Roland, the Dark Elves no longer have to worry about their home getting destroyed again. Thus, they clenched their teeth and after withdrawing the last of their savings, rebuilt their home for the third time. With many free labor, such as the leftover, Shing, Knights, the liver, Shing, Knights and the holy, Shing, Knights, helping them, the town security headquarters was quickly rebuilt. Designed by the Grey Dwarfs architects, the new town security headquarters is earthquake-proof, explosion-proof, fireproof, flood-proof and Roland-proof. As for how did I know all these, it is all written clearly on the blueprints. The few bright red words could be seen clearly even from more than 100 meters away. I can understand what the first four is about, but what does being Roland-proof means? I made use of the right that only children possess, the right to be inquisitive. However, the event that happens next renders Diana's answer pointless. Roland. Who mentioned that name? The moment the name popped out of my mouth, numerous female knights seemed to jump out of nowhere. Fully clothed in their armor, they hold sharp swords in their hands. Their eyes are filled with blood veins and their murderous aura makes it seem like they are ready to slaughter someone. That Roland proof refers to an anti-undead barrier that we hired a master to lay down in order to deal with a certain someone. Right, little Rolo, don't say your uncle's name here. I nodded my head with an intentional look that spells of confusion while secretly wiping away the cold sweat on my palms. Even after so long. Is their grudge that deep? I was the one who approved of the subsidies at the High Court, you know, otherwise, it is impossible for you all to rebuild your headquarters so quickly. You heartless bunch of elves. I peeked at those crimson-red eyes while mumbling curses directed at these Andes under my breath. I know that it is impossible for me to be exposed but I still instinctively tightened the cloak around me. Wakaka, I didn't expect your reputation to be so horrid. As expected of my disciple. Alright, I was even mocked by the old demonic granny in my mantle. However, that Diana seems to have recalled something and immediately adds on. Don't say the name when you are outside too. Absolutely not. Your uncle. That? He has quite a bad reputation in the city. I am not really prejudiced against him but there are some words, as an elder, that isn't suitable for me to say. Anyway, little Rolo, for your own safety, you mustn't tell anyone that you are Roland's nephew. Alright, looking at this red-faced moon knight who seems to be embarrassed about speaking badly about others, that black cat is already rolling around the floor laughing. Little brother Roland, what exactly did you do? Why are you faring so badly on your territory that even the female knight feels ashamed to talk about you? Shut up, my magic pet. Otherwise, I will make you learn how to talk like a squirrel and do 360-degree flips on the spot for 2.5 weeks until you puke. After hearing my words, despite boiling with anger, Harlois knows that I will carry out my threat. If I say that I will make her do flips from 2.5 weeks, there is no way I will make her turn around for 3 weeks. Harlois, who is always good at reading situations and adapting to them, immediately shuts up obediently. Alright, little Rolo, hurry and go eat. After hearing these words, my excitement starts to well up. I have been meeting with misfortune for the entire day. Looks like my luck is finally turning around. I don't even have a single bronze coin on my entire body, so it is a good opportunity for me to get some food. On the road to the canteen, looking at this hesitating female knight, many thoughts ran through my mind. There are many things that I have to do, but the one with the topmost priority is to get rid of this young form. With my current stature, even the hilt of the sword is larger than my hand. I can't even grab a sword stably, so how in the world am I going to fight? Furthermore, the small figure means that my steps would be small and with my limbs short, I would face difficulty in exerting my full strength and coupled with many other limitations, it would be hard for me to perform. Furthermore, I would come into contact like the top brasses of the nobles in the human world in the future. Reality isn't like a night novel. Outer appearance may not determine everything, but being young, it would be difficult for me to inspire trust in others. All of my plans would go down the drain like that. If I were to wait to grow naturally, who knows how long it would take for this body to mature. I must first look for a way to hide this form. Right, the dragon tribe is a kind of tribe where the older they are, the stronger they are. Going by her age, Little Red isn't supposed to be old enough to be promoted to an ancient dragon. Perhaps, there might be some kind of secret arts involved. I will go and question her later. After making up my mind, I start to enjoy the lunch that I have been waiting a long time for. The other side of the table is full of aunties who keep staring secretly at me. Not just the tables, even the doorway is filled with people. At the corner, Momo is tied up by a chain and keeps on howling non-stop. Momo isn't a pedophile, it is just that the person I like just happens to be a child. You bunch who haven't touched a man for several decades, you bunch of thirsty #yenat, touch your heart and ask yourself if you all really do not wish to dye that innocent smile with your own color. He already has a master and that is me, Momo. I will not let any of you snatch him away from me. Fine. Even her colleagues can't stand her salivating and pleading look that they even stuffed up her mouth. On the corner, even with her mouth stuffed and her neck fastened to a collar, Momo is still trying her best to pounce over like a frenzied wild dog. Her colleagues were trying her best to push her down while I pretend not to hear or see anything at all. Looking at how I am eating heartily, Diana hesitates for a moment before speaking. I'm afraid that you came a step too late. Your uncle won't be coming back. Why don't you live with us temporarily? Hearing this, before I could even react, cheers that almost flipped the roof filled the entire canteen. Big sister, you are finally enlightened. I thought that you weren't normal. Big sister, well done. You can enjoy him first, just remember to leave a small part to me. That's right. Even if we are unable to devour him, it is good to have him stay as a night candy. However, big sister, you won't truly be thinking of keeping him to yourself? HMPH, I am not a pedophile, so I am not really interested. However, after 30 years or so, lend him to me for a while, I probably won't reject him. Anyway, humans grow very quickly and you should be sick of him by 30 years. Yeah, you aren't a pedophile, you're into geezers. Should I say as expected of the open dark elves? The bluntness of their words really makes one exclaim in shock. At the same time, as the dark elves rejoiced, I trembled from the depths of my heart. I started to wonder if it was worth entering a lion's den just for a meal. After hearing the cheering of her comrades, Diana stunts for a moment before smiling bitterly. She couldn't explain what she was really feeling. Was it a coincidence for her to know that Roland is Lord Woomians, and now that Lord Woomians has ascended, is this child fated to never be able to find his own uncle? Furthermore, even if it is Sulphur Mountain City we are talking about, it is still part of the dangerous underground world. If he were to run into some slave peddler or perverts, the thing which Sulphur Mountain City doesn't lack is the latter. At the very least, the wild beast which is bound by metal chains is definitely one. Consider it. Seeing from your white and smooth skin, you don't look like a kid from the underground world. This is a totally different place from the surface. You should really think deeply about how you are going to survive here. Thank you, big sister. But Uncle Roland told me that if I was unable to find him, I am to look for Lord Innsmesius. Looks like I can only thicken my skin to look for Little Red. Scanning my surroundings, these elves seem to be concealing something suspicious in their mouths. Their eyes are glowing green. No matter how I look at it, they look like a pack of hungry wolves. Staying here is simply too dangerous. However, due to a certain reason, I have to return back to my old home for a short period of time. Perhaps, I might have to look for a reliable guardian for me. Hearing the great name of the new Dragon Empress, Diana stunts for a moment before recalling that the child in front of her is the nephew of Woomians, so there is a high possibility that he would be related to Lord Innsmesius. Coming to a realization, she nods her head. Alright, then I will send you over after you are done eating. Ignoring the sighs around me, I continued eating. Once I was done, Diana passes over a form to me. Looking at how you are, you should be able to write. Fill in your basic particulars so that I can make you a temporary pass for ease of movement within the city. The eyes of the predators around made cold sweat trickle down my back. I had the intention to flee long ago, and so, swoosh swoosh swoosh, I finished filling up in an instant and throwing the form, I left immediately. Gossip is almost a trait that women are born with. The moment Diana, their captain, leaves, the group of female knights immediately rush up to vie for the form. However, what was mysterious was that despite being elves, they weren't able to comprehend the words on the form. Then, only after someone exclaimed it did they realize that the little boy had actually been communicating with them using their mother tongue, the Dark Elf language. Afterward, under the intense study of a few scholars simultaneously, They realized that the form, which had words no one could comprehend, was actually a combination of more than a dozen languages scrambled together. Despite being incredibly messy, there wasn't a single mistake in it. The first word is in dragon language, while the phrase at the back is written in devil language. The middle part is jotted down using the ancient elf language. Yet, they are put together using the dialect of the Leopardians of the far south. If this isn't a great saint well versed in languages showing off his linguistic abilities, then it must mean that the one writing it has gone mad. Language is used as a medium for thoughts, and all creatures use their mother tongue to think. If these words are derived from his thought process, then there is a good chance that he is already completely mad. Despite becoming the noble dragon empress, Einmi's Yusa's life didn't change at all compared to the past. She still sleeps lazily in her den every day, eats some food, exchange some blows. Other than the quality of her opponents getting higher and higher, there isn't really much difference in her lifestyle. When she was still sleeping in her den, she heard from the dragon tributes that serves her that there is a fellow named Rolo who seeks her presence. Overjoyed, she immediately rushes over to the doorway to welcome him. However, upon seeing him, she stuns for a moment before. Whoa, haha, to think that you would have such a day too, Roland. Come, call me Andy. A certain dragon starts rolling around the floor laughing without any hesitation. Her laughter reverberating in the entire den was so hateful that it makes one grind his teeth. Angry, I sent a kick towards her. However, not mentioning that she totally disregarded it, she laughed even louder. I can't take it anymore. You even named yourself Rolo. Big brother Rolo, come, praise the holy light and justice and continue leading us on our adventures. Alright. Since I am unable to defeat her, I can only wait for her to finish laughing. That fellow actually continued laughing for 10 minutes straight that tears were flowing down her eyes. The moment I mentioned my demands, she immediately shakes her head. A secret method to hasten growth. There is indeed such method, but if you do not wish to be reduced to a state of being unable to even remember your own name, it is best that you do not use it. It seems that the dragon tribe used this method to hasten the incubation of the dragon eggs in order to create fodder. In just a short 3 weeks, a dragon egg is able to turn into a young dragon. However, due to the rapid growth, the dragon's brain will suffer fatal damage, turning it into a mindless fodder. You humans really don't respect life. Every single phase of life has its own meaning. By playing around, toddlers train the coordination of their limbs and their ability to move around. Children use games to cultivate their thinking and their cooperation. They imitate their elders and inherit their knowledge and skills. Teenagers start to try to gather teams in order to face the cruel nature. The middle-aged, having their stamina deteriorated, learn to shoulder the responsibility of propping up a family, while the old, despite turning frail, gains wisdom. Every age group has a way of living that is most suitable for their survival. This is a gift from nature. Those who just look at the future don't have a present. Without a present, how can one have a future? Hearing these whole bunch of words, I was stunned. This doesn't seem like words Little Red would say. Why are you looking at me like this? No matter what, I am a giant dragon that is old enough to be your great-grandmother. It isn't that big of a deal for me to say something that has a philosophical. Molly said that? Of course not, there's no way she would know all these. It is my dad. Alright, so it is that unlucky Dragon King that I have heard so much about. However, looking at the gleeful look on Little Red's face, is this what it means for someone to be cursed of being unable to remain cool for more than 3 seconds? However, what she said makes sense. I couldn't help but recall the journey that Fool Dam went through. He slowly trained his body and learned bit by bit from the experience he underwent. Gradually, as his physical body grew powerful and his powers started to mature. With his basics in place, it formed the foundation for him to walk even further. Taking the long term into account, I recommend that you take it slowly. Train yourself gradually so as to uncover your own potential. No matter what, this is better than pulling on the seedling in a hope that it would grow taller. However, this can't do as well. I can't even grasp a sword like that. I would require a body that is able to fight at the minimum. If you only want the outer appearance of a grown man, you have looked for the wrong person. You should have looked for Margaret. Space and time is her specialty. Changing one's physique without affecting one's growth should be a simple matter for her. While speaking, Little Red reverted back to her human form. Margaret? Who? Oh, That saint who likes to dress in blue? Can you introduce her to me?" Nodding my head, I reckoned that my guess should be spot on. However, somehow, after my words sound out, Little Red's face turned white in an instant, showing an awful look. "What are you joking about? You forgot about her first once again." "Forget it, there's no use getting angry with you. Come with me." "Alright, looks like I won't be able to avoid Adam this time." Under Little Red's lead, charging through everything else, it didn't take long before we arrive at the City Lord residence. Ha 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 ha, so cute. "Little brother Roland, it gives me such satisfaction to see that you would actually have such a day." "Alright, I knew that this would happen from the start." "The fellow who is rolling around and laughing just like Little Red previously is my mortal enemy, which I find myself at a loss for words to describe." "Uncle Bones is so cute." Annie's dazed gaze looks a little dangerous. However, seeing from how she didn't directly pounce at me, she is much better than the female elves. The saint dressed in blue also smiles faintly at me. "A time-changing ring, that's simple. Come and retrieve it in a week. I am really thankful to you. To ask you for a favor despite meeting for the first time, I am really deeply apologetic. I will remember this debt and repay you in the future." An incomprehensible situation happened. Even I knew that it is only right to thank someone after seeking them for their help, but why is it that the moment those words left my mouth, the atmosphere which was still warm a second ago chills the next moment? Cough. You haven't gone back to your dwelling, huh? I will be heading back later. This time, my losses seem to be more severe. I'm afraid I would have to spend at least 3 months holed up in there." "Right, did you all collect the Roland Sacred Sword's fragmented pieces?" "I think that I should be able to reforge it." "Yes, when I asked the system to compensate me for my current state, the system threw me the additional right to use my fate point to create a weapon that is suited for me. Since I am able to make god equipment, the first one that I thought of is the treasured sword that serves as my family heirloom." Cough. "Of course. Give me a moment, I will go fetch them." When Adam, who tried to fix the situation, left, the entire room turned bizarrely silent. Even when Adam brought back a bag of fragmented pieces, no one said anything. In the room of the not very large City Lord residence, a strange atmosphere starts to arise, causing everyone to fall silent. Naturally, under the circumstance where no one was willing to say anything, this reunion ended abruptly. After bidding my farewell, the moment I walked out of the room, I heard sobbing sounds at my back. Now, I know that it must be something that I have done wrong. Thus, I hastened my footsteps to return to my dwelling quickly so that I could find out exactly what I did wrong. Looks like I must have said something I shouldn't have. Sigh, what exactly did I forget along with that 1 point of intelligence? Intelligence is the basis for one to use magic. At the same time, it also represents a human's rational thinking and memory. It is a part of the soul, but it is also influenced by the physical body. I remember that back when I was still a lich, my intelligence was 30. Reducing the 2 points that is additionally given by the lich's body, my basic intelligence should have been 28. But, at this moment, it is only 27. Obviously, I suffered some kind of loss when I died. How could it be possible for one to not pay any price for death? The concept of death itself is the dissipation of one's soul. The water of river Styx is a lethal weapon that steals away memory. However, I didn't fear it at all. It isn't the first time anyway. I won't die just by forgetting something. Anyway, I don't even know what I have forgotten, so I wouldn't feel regretful or upset over it. So it is really nothing. After stepping into my old dwelling, the extinguished lamps light up one after another and the entire house comes to life. However, I didn't stop at just the residential area. My goal from the very start was the underground chamber under my dwelling. That is also the reason why I had to return to Sulphur Mountain City. The passageway was reminiscent of towers in the Middle Age. Not even a glimmer of light could be seen, and the only thing that reverberates is the sound of footsteps. The moment I stepped into the bottommost floor of the underground chamber, the entire underground library lights up. Under the effects of mystical arts, countless books flew around the room just like birds who have just obtained life. No mistake in soul detection. Welcome back, Master. I am this lab and library's man-made tower spirit 007. I hope that you didn't forget about me this time. Then, following the tasks that you entrusted before your departure, the education sequence will be triggered. This time, where do you intend to start reading from? My personal suggestion is to start from language, then math, physics, and chemistry. After filling on all of the basics, then should you start studying about actual battles. Glancing around, this is really a sea of books. Thousands of shelves stood there silently and under the effects of spatial magic. This is just a corner of the gigantic glacier. On the shelves, there are labels such as physics and chemistry. There are also shelves which are labeled as army stratagems, the secret of gods and magic arts. But what that was labeled on the largest portion of the shelves are logs, experimental logs that belong to me. If death was that easy to deal with, then there would be no reason for everyone to fear death. Even if I am lucky enough to not enter reincarnation, making use of the system and the special protection that being a transcender grants to my soul, I am still tortured by the missing pieces in my memory and knowledge after reviving. Furthermore, gauging by how my basic stats actually dropped, this is my greatest loss by far. The damage is quite heavy this time. It looks like I have died too many times that even the material of my soul is starting to crack. However, it matters not. The intelligence point that I have lost can be regained and the knowledge that I have forgotten can be learnt once again. As for the memories I lost, at least I am able to find back a portion of them from my logs. Yes, this is my library and my lab, as well as the treasure vault of my memory and knowledge. I know that my goals are hard to realize, so death cannot be avoided and the memory loss that I face during death will occur time and time again. However, as long as I jot down everything I learned and learn from it again, read it once more, I should be able to remember most of the things I lost. Tower Spirit 007, start from my experimental logs. Let's start from the logs of my previous life. The tag labeled on it should be Crazy Lich. Also, look for the phrase Margaret. I want to first understand what was it that happened just now. I have cultivated a habit of writing diaries for a few centuries now. I will record everything in it, when I go outdoors, brush my teeth, close the lights and sleep, the daily newspaper that I buy and schemes and plans for wars, from boring cases I faced during trials to fixing the legislation. No matter whether it is an important matter or a small affair, I would record all of it down on my logs. Perhaps, I might lose my memory after death. But with these countless shelves and diaries as my substitute memory vault, as long as nothing happens to it, I am able to start afresh no matter how many times it takes. 1, 2, 3.5, 7, 8, 9, seems still okay. I only forgot 2 of the basic numbers, so filling in the gaps shouldn't be that difficult. The reason why I was counting while floating on the river Styx is not really because I was that bored, but rather, I was trying my best to find out how much I have forgotten as well as to try to jog my memory. Memories are often interlinked. A human's knowledge is often intertwined together like a tree. If language is the basis of all sociology disciplines, then math is the basis of engineering. It might seem as though I just lost my memory for a few numbers, but this represents a series of gaps in my knowledge. At this moment, I have much more important matters to remember. Under the propulsion of magic, using Margaret as a key phrase, the experimental logs of the Crazy Lich has flipped onto the page where everything began. Those are the days where we adventured together. Ah, crap. I better apologize tomorrow. No. Since she is a saint, she would be very sensitive and careful. If I were to throw her an insincere and casual apology, it would only make things worse. It would better for me to apologize after finishing all of my logs. Sigh, the last time I took 2 months and that was 100 years ago. With a total of 300 years of logs, how long will it take for me to finish through all these? 3 months? Half a year? Immediately, I knew that I was being too positive. Seems like I have really died too many times. To think that I wouldn't be able to even recognize the words I wrote. This square-looking word. Tower Spirit, please pass me a Chinese learning material first. Very quickly, a large stack of books is stacked in front of me on my desk. Men at their birth are naturally good. Their natures are much the same, their habits become widely different. If foolishly there is no teaching, their nature will deteriorate. The right way in teaching is to attach the utmost importance in thoroughness. In front of the study desk, a young kid carries a book that is even bigger than him. The melodious tune of him reciting from the book echoes between the shelves, Into the distance. PS. The name of the book? Lich was never the main point. The main point from the start was the diaries, log. Squirrel once hesitated whether I should name this book The Savior's Logs/Diaries, but as it is too chony and without a context, I chose to go with the current name. TL, reference for the 3-character classic. It is much concise in Chinese. I alternated between the usage of logs and diaries, but it is actually the same thing, mostly hesitating because diaries somehow seemed more appropriate in certain cases.